like massage. It's not like I've got other injuries and sores and stuff that I can stretch and manage and stuff, but it's just like an awkward. I don't really know how to stretch my neck.
I have no clue. What from, like hunting and stuff?
I got packs maybe.
Probably
Like,
30 kilos on the stair machine.
well, that's what I'm thinking, and deadies, like heavy deadies after it,
Deadlifts would 100% strain your neck.
because the top of my back's sore. But
It's probably postural.
without a doubt. But yeah, I'm at the age where when I get niggles now, I actually go and see someone about it because I don't want them to turn into like I had hip problems, knee problems, like really. Okay, the things I've had my whole life. It's just that now I'm not as elastic as I was when I was 20, and so when you train, you then you find these problems, and then all of a sudden it's like it's not. The physical abilities you're training aren't capped by, or we're now are capped by, how flexible I am and how good my knees are and how good my back is and all the rest of it. And so it's just training now for me is just like finding the next thing that is going to give me a niggle, which I'd never had them before. And if I did, they only lasted like a week. Like you especially through work and stuff, you'd hurt your hands or hurt your wrists all the time. Like with cattle and stuff getting crushed and jammed or shoulders and stuff, never was a problem. Now it's like everything like lasts just so much longer. And so you're just band-aiding and fixing it, like trying to work out what things you can push and what things you can't.
I think hunting though, like it's one of those things where you can't manage it well when you're out in the field because you're always dehydrated. You're always probably carrying more than you should, walking awkwardly with minimal supportive stuff. And yeah, like you're dehydrated, you're malnourished, not malnourished, but you're like under.
Yeah, generally like calorie intake for our hunts is normally pretty good. Like we manage that pretty well. Like I'll carry in, especially on the backpack hunts, like I would rather carry an extra 500 grams a day of food than starve. But the biggest one is sleep and recovery because like what you said, so you like physically you're pushing yourself further than even when you probably trained, and you're doing it on like a more repetitive scale. Like, ideally I'll probably get up to training every day or at least 5 days a week with a pack, but I'm only doing it for like an hour. Whereas it's very hard to replicate like going all day for 25 days or whatever it's going to be. And so, yeah. And then obviously compounded like what you said about, you're dehydrated. Normally you potentially might be low on electrolytes, calories, you might be deficit depending on who you are and what you want to do. Maybe not enough protein in itself, like as a macro, because like most of the dehydrated meals and like all that type of stuff, you're not hitting like that one, like what I do when I'm trying to train, where it's like, 1 gram of protein per pound of me. So like, yeah, all these things. But then I guess that's where, like, for me, that's where the training comes in. Like
to basically combat that.
Oh, yeah, pretty well. Like just try and prepare you as much as you can, and also just make it as easy as possible. Like we've spoken about, the complexities and the added sort of disadvantages, I guess, of filming. So it's just trying to manage that to the best capabilities that we can, so that like that becomes the smallest amount of an inconvenience or like a handicap as possible, because it's not like, oh, we're filming, which slows you down, but also we're carrying an extra 8 to 10 kilos of camera gear, as you would know, so it's like, okay, cool. Even though we're slower, we're not also slower because physically like getting up this mountain is going to kill me, because instead of my day pack being like a cute little 7 kilo or 6 kilo day pack, like what normal people carry, or my day pack is already at 15 or 17 kilos, which like some of the ultralight dudes, like they'll do a weekend, like a 3-day hunt with food, water, not water, like they're picking up water as they go, but they'll do like a 3-day trip with like an 18 kilo bag with like a tent, cooking gear, sleeping bag, pad, all this stuff. And that's our just like run and gun day bag. So yeah, it's just trying to prepare myself. Like at the moment, I'm really in the infancy stage of this like US training stuff. But for me, and like I don't have any set structure. Like I'm pretty bad on that. But it's like I just like even the other day, like we're talking, like I was doing 20 kilos straight up, which like is not that heavy, and wasn't really feeling much. Like even like I was doing a combination of like the Stairmaster, then the treadmill, like at full incline, walking quite quickly, like trying to get the speed up. Because that's my probably biggest handicap is I don't find it hard, even with a heavy bag, like, 40, 50 kilos, walking. I just find it hard walking fast. So that's where, yesterday I was like, okay. So I started off with 20, trying to get the speed up and just get like reps in the legs. Did that for about a week. And then this week I've started to go to 30 kilos, but do like a heavy and fast, I guess, couple of initial sets and then drop it down and then go to 20 and then try and do it. But like, I think even already, like I just read my body, like I'm sore now from the heavy deadlifts that I was doing in between sets rather than the actual stair machine. So it's like, okay, cool, straight away, let's go to 40 kilos, and let's start at 40 and try and get the weight under. But it's also like something I've never done before that I'll do this year with training is try and get the endurance component up, because like it's very hard to replicate, or it's not hard to replicate, you just go and do it. But like in terms of like the hike in or the big walks in and stuff. So that's where on the weekends, I want to start doing like the proper like 35 kilo walk in, but do it for like 3 or 4 hours. And if I do that every week between, now, early June, all the way through to when I actually go over there in like the end of August, then at least I should be like pretty, because I think for me personally, this is going to be my biggest challenge, like probably one of the biggest challenges hunting wise that I've done, which I'm like super excited for, because obviously it's new and it's going to be such a mental and physical challenge.
Solo too.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, and that, that's, there's no doubt in my mind, like not having Aiden there is going to be massive for that too, because you just like, it sounds silly, but I've already downloaded, like there's tracks that I listen to and it's just like dumb stuff. Well, not dumb stuff, but it's like, I don't listen to music when I train. I listen to like motivational, like essentially guys just calling you out and being like, stop being a little bitch. Which is like, I love it. I love when you see like memes and it's like when you got guys training and it's just like, what, you think you couldn't lift that weight? How are you meant to like defend your family and your honor and like, and then it's like, and then it flicks to like a female trainer. It's just like, you are a beautiful flower. You are doing incredible things. Keep going. Like it's just like the complete different mindset. It's just like flicks back to the guy and it's just like, you are pathetic. You are worthless. It's like, like just like absolute insult. And then like, the chick side thing is just like, you keep pushing, queen. You are just the ultimate, like, yeah. Anyway, so but yeah, so I've got like pretty much 2 playlists that I've downloaded and I found that out ages ago. Like it's just so much of, and it's said to be, it's the same for life. It's the same for, like the physical components, like pushing through anything long distance, like any hardship. It's like, and it's like a mantra, I guess, I live around, but it's like so much worse in your imagination than what it is in real life. And it's like, it's something that I tell like we got friends that are like 13 and 15-year-old girls that are going through stuff in school. And, you hear about things on like on the weekend and stuff, and they're like fighting with some other girl. And I'm like, you're going to rock up on Monday and it's going to be like a tenth as bad as the things that you imagine could possibly happen to you as the repercussion of this thing. And like, obviously they're still young and working, but it's the same with me. Like when you're in the grind of it, like whether it be, oh, I'm broke and I've got no money, or like, physically this sucks. Like I've got to walk out 20 Ks with 30 kilos on my back or whatever. It's just like, at the time it sucks, but once you get through it, or like once you face it, it's fine. And so that's where, for me, like that music I learned, you just like put it on, and then like, even if it's just like your favorite soundtrack, and then all of a sudden it's just like sunshine, lollipops, and you just start walking, and then like all of a sudden, oh shit, this like 8-hour hike, it's like I'm already 2 hours in, and like, it's going way better than the endorphins start kicking in. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like, and that's probably just that like mindset, shift and framing things, as people put it and stuff. But so yeah, it's just trying to get ahead of problems. You know what I mean? Like, especially like, obviously we're talking about the hunting and stuff, but yeah, just foreseeing like your shortfalls and where I'm gonna struggle, and just like negate it. It's just like, okay, cool. Okay, take good electrolytes, plenty of caffeine, work out all the food and nutritional stuff. Like obviously like, yeah, with all the gear and everything, try and go ultra light, but it's also like you want to be comfortable. You want to, like if you're cold because you left your puffy jacket at home because you didn't want an extra 500 grams, okay, cool. Then you're not going to be out there for as long. So it's like, it's all good that you're not.
It's all a trade-off.
Oh, that's right. It's just working out. Yeah.
Same with ultralight, like those sleeping mats and shit. They're
Yeah.
terribly uncomfortable.
Oh, and that's, where you go.
And sleep is like, even if you get 4 hours, you're grateful for 4 hours, but it has to be a good 4 hours.
Well, and I don't know if I'll do it on this trip, but one hack that I learnt, and was, and like we have a pretty thick, like we got the Cedar Summit, like really thick, high R-rated pads. And but one thing that I actually learnt was, because there was a day when we were in the US last year that when we were in camp with our friends, like I was sleeping in a tent, and Aiden had his own, another tent, but he got, because we weren't doing backpack hunt, he had like a full stretcher bed and everything like that. And I was like, I don't know, for day, because we started off both sleeping in there, and for days I was just like slept next to this empty pad that was like next to me, and like it was pretty comfortable. Like I'm not like as far as like sleeping pads go, it was pretty good. And I just like looked at it one day and I was like, why not? And just like put the two on top of each other. Next level comfortable.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh, it was like, and so like I said, I woke up the next morning and I was just like, honestly, I would look at taking in like if you're a bad sleeper, what are they, 600 grams? And like, for a good bag, that they might go down to like a bit bigger than a Coke can or something like that. It's just like, there might be like a small, like a Yeti cup drink bottle or something. But it's like for the quality of the sleep, the improved sleep, and then hence like you're not waking up, you're not touching the floor, like you don't get sore spots, your hips don't get sore, or your shoulders or whatever. Like those little things. And I was just like, look, for 800 grams and a bit of extra room in my pack, I was like,
yeah. I found the exact same thing, like hunting in New Zealand. Thermarest Neolofts, they're like a 100 mil thick mattress, and they're square. Like your feet don't fall off the edge of them, and they're kind of bulky, a little bit heavy, but
it's worth it.
Man, the ability to like let them down a little bit rather than them being rock hard.
Yeah.
So you don't, because like you get a thinner mattress and you let it down a little bit, you're still touching on rocks and shit.
Yeah.
Whereas these, you can let them down a bit and like sink into them nice and contour into them and be super comfy, still without touching the ground.
Yeah.
And a good pillow.
Oh yeah.
Makes a huge
we
difference.
Use those. I think they're Cedar Summit as well, actually. But those little blow up pillows, like the first trip I ever did, I just had like, I don't know, like, and it's probably just an advancement in tech too. Like my history in backpacking is only like it'd be a bit longer than that, but like 8 or 9 years old. But even in that time, like the advances that people have made in like material, in lightness and stuff, like with people pushing like how far they want to go and how much they want to carry, you know what I mean? Whereas like the old school dudes used to carry like 40 kilos into the backcountry, and like they just be like, oh yeah, because they're carrying so much stuff already. There was none of this like dehydrate, like they make their own dehydrate meals, which a lot of people still do now. But like there's so many great options out there, like and even just in clothing and backpacks and like all the rest of it, like the advances that have been made now. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I think it's always a thing that I battle with too, like just the expectation of the hunt. Like in terms of, you save up, like I'm burning 8 years worth of points to go on this hunt, which in the grand scheme of things compared to a lot of people is not much. But I know when I know me personally, and Aiden can, would say the same thing here. Like I'm like my own worst enemy on a hunt where it's like, a once in a lifetime tag, or it's, like a hunt that I'm paying like a fair bit of money for or something like that, because I always want, and it's probably, I don't know if it's like, you'd call it selfish or, but I always want like the biggest of what I'm trying to get, you know what I mean? And the thing is, like, it was really, but the thing that I also know, and I've like grown with me now, is like when I go and like, you want the biggest, like on the last trip, like I wanted a really, I wanted to shoot a mule deer in the US more than anything, right? And that's what I was going to prioritize my time on. And shot, like we weren't finding him and stuff, and so shot one that was like a nice mule deer, but he's not giant by any means, right? But I'm still so stoked because the amount of opportunities that we got on mule deer and stuff for like, got 2 stalks essentially in like a 30-day hunt, and was able to capitalize on the second one. And if I hadn't done that, in hindsight, I never would have had a stalk on another mule deer for another 14 days in that trip, just how it worked out and what we were seeing and stuff. So it's all, and like, there's plenty of times where I've almost like downsized, where you're on a hunt and then you're like, oh, look, it's not like the biggest one, but I'm going to go and stalk it anyway or whatever. And then you shoot it. And like, you're always so stoked. Like, and it's the same with anything. Like, you see these things and you want to shoot it or whatever. And like, yeah, but you just like, I think it's like the selfish you that wants like the biggest and the best. And so I've given myself like plenty of time to try and go and find, I don't know, like mature animals with the current, like the couple of tags that I've got. But even then, still, like, I don't know, I'm already pretty much going in there reminding myself, like, you're there sort of just to have a good time and also to like try and, yeah, like obviously try and find the best buck or the best elk or whatever that you can, but just enjoy the process of doing it as well. And if it's not like, yeah, if it's not some 200-inch giant mule deer or whatever, and it's just like a good one that you try and get, then so be it, I guess.
I think the story associated with it matters a lot as well. Like, if you could just walk up and shoot a 350 plus bull, and it was a very simple stalk, and it was on day one, and it was like, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, and you get to bring home this 350 bull, and people go, oh, how'd that all go down? And you're like, oh, I kind of just walked up and shot it on day one.
Yeah.
Versus 250, 280.
Yeah.
That you bust your ass for 28 days, and then you have to climb into some hellhole and shoot it at 60 yards.
Well, and that,
like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was that was sort of my hunt like a couple of years ago where I had that limited entry tag in Montana, where like I went over there and like arguably it's one of the best units in the state, and I like probably let I let other people's I don't know, like other people's what they were saying in terms of like I had people being like, oh yeah, man, you're gonna go and shoot a giant, like blah blah blah, and there is giants there, but it's like it's still hunting. Like you've still got to go and like yes, we were seeing like heaps of bulls, but it's also like if you're trying to get that like top 1%, you know, of elk in the country, and like there was a bull that we saw that like now is in like the top 10 biggest elk ever shot in Montana that I was like trying to shoot and was like in 35 yards off it. You know what I mean? And someone else shot it, and that's like when you're trying to get that top tier level, you know, yeah, there's like a skill requirement, but also like, yeah, just time and effort and everything like that. And I was prepared to try and get that elk or level of elk. And if I didn't, because we were seeing so many, I also had confidence in my ability to just be, okay, well, I'm confident that we'll be able to get like, you know, a really, really good elk, which is what happened. But I was prepared to like run the gauntlet, I guess, where for probably the first 14 days, like Aiden was pretty dirty on me. I'm not going to lie. Like he was like, what about that bull? Like his, you know, and I made some stupid mistakes in that early time too, because I didn't know how to like judge elk. I would just like look at them and be like, no, he's not quite there, because we'd seen this like giant one. It was like him or nothing. And then it got to a point where like we lost access because it's all block management stuff and booking dates, and we couldn't hunt where he was anymore. And then it was like Aiden was like, okay, now like we're running out of days. We're here like filming this as well, which makes it so much harder. Can we like go and almost like take the shackles off and just like go and stalk these elk? And then from there, like it changed the hunt, and that's where like learning, you know, about yourself and learning about the hunt, like it changed the hunt, because then all of a sudden it was like, okay, cool. Every elk that was like a really good herd bull, which most of them were like above 330 anyway, so like cracking bulls, we could go and stalk. And then we had like so many cool encounters where we were like 20 to 30 off bulls. But the problem is because we were hunting with that real like thick timber stuff, like we'd call in all these bulls, and like you'd have a bull at like 15 meters just like screaming at you, and you couldn't shoot it because there was like just stuff all across. Yeah. And so then, yeah, but then you get all these like really awesome memories and stuff. And we've got so much cool footage that like when I actually edit it into a film, like you start going, oh shit, that was that bull that we saw on day 2 that we also stalked on day 8 and saw him there, and shit, he busted off that, and oh, that, look at them fighting and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, like, I mean, it's just all those memories that you get from the hunt, because like what you said, you didn't just rock up on day 1 and just like, you know, shoot the first thing that you see.
Yeah, I feel like just story matters more than trophy to me, anyway. It definitely does. But totally get that too, because I was like in New Zealand extremely pickier than I should have been for someone who's never hunted red stags before. I was way pickier than what I should have been. Well, maybe not what I should have been, but I'm glad I was picky at the end of it all. Hard to say whether I would have regretted it if I was picky and then didn't shoot an animal. But like the whole time I was there, I saw one other deer other than the one I shot that I then couldn't spend 3 days trying to find. I couldn't find it again. That was the only stag that I was like, I would shoot that. And then the rest of them, I was like, not so much.
Yeah. It's interesting because you almost like, it's like you want an animal that reflects the amount of effort that you're willing to put in and how far you're willing to push yourself and how far you're willing to go to get such an extraordinary animal. You know what I mean? Like, and it's almost just like I don't know if it's like a boast, but it's just like, it's mental. It's like, it's just as much for your own personal like development and growth that you try and like, yeah. And I know for me, like I look at my first US trip and things that like broke me then, now you go and do and you like laugh at. You know what I mean? You're just like, that's not hard. You know what I mean? Like that's not like, and that's just part of the like life, I guess. But it's also just part of that progression of like, you hit that barrier, knocks you down, get back up, get over it, keep going, knocks you down, the next one knocks you down, so on and so forth. And like, I mean, there's obviously going to be barriers in everyone's life and things that we face that you get knocked down, you get back up and you can't get over that barrier. But then it's like, okay, well then how do we get around it another way? Or how do we,
It's still easier though. Like I think like perspective's valuable because like you get, and it applies to life and business and everything. You get to that point, you get knocked down. You can only have that experience at that degree once, where it brutalizing because you're unaware of the whole impact of it. It happens. You can never have that experience again. So then you go back through the exact same thing and you fail. It was still easier. It was easier failing the second time because you know essentially what's going to happen and what's involved to get to that point. And like use the fail or success as an animal. Like I've had it a lot. I film more hunts than I actually hunt myself, but I've had like, I did Alaska mountain goat, which was like hardcore physicality. And New Zealand got caught in a blizzard last year and it was like hectic hard work on the west coast getting smashed to death. So then I went to New Zealand this year hunting myself and I went down and up the same mountain about 4 times in one day chasing stags around the place. And I got to the point where I was like physically exhausted and I was like, still not as bad as Alaska. Still not as bad as NZ. So it's like, I feel like there's like progression even though it's not directly related. Does that make sense?
Oh, and that's, like what I was saying before, like you're almost your own worst enemy in your head. But that's where like when you do these hard things that push you further than what you've done, like your mind tries to sneak in earlier and be like, it's the same with breath holds. You know what I mean? Like you've got all these systems and alarms that we don't want to stress. You don't want to get like, especially in modern society as well. It's like, you don't want to get physically hurt. You don't want to get mentally hurt. You don't want to get emotionally hurt. So as soon as something starts going a little bit sideways, your brain goes, oh no, shit. Oh. But it's, at least with like the mental and physical stuff, that's where like if you've done it all before and like you've inadvertently, whether it be through training and then doing the real thing, push yourself further than that, when your body tries to go, and that's like with so many of our domestic hunts now that Aiden and I do, like they're obviously pretty taxing because we're filming and all the rest of it and it's big days, big nights. But the same thing as what you're saying, like you try and compare that to like a New Zealand or a US hunt or whatever, where you've done it for like way longer, way harder conditions filming, harder conditions like sleeping and like the fact that you're probably camping out or whatever rather than having like a roof over your head. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a piece of piss. Like this isn't even hard at all. But I really resonate with what you said, like in terms of the first time you experience something and there's nothing really like it. And that's where it's interesting because I've had this mind shift a little bit with hunting recently where like a lot of the hunts I do because they're so competitive, because they're so repetitive, it's sort of lost. It hasn't lost its value, but you're looking, like I said, you're looking for you need the highest highs to almost like feel something about it. You know what I mean? Like you've got, for example, and like we're talking about like red stags before, because obviously I really enjoy hunting them. But like, I remember not that long ago, maybe like, I think it was only probably 7 years ago or so when it was like my first ever time hearing like a red deer roar. And I was like, this is incredible. You know what I mean? Like there is nothing better than this. And just going around very similar to what I do now, but like finding stags and like really finding mature stags. And like I remember on this particular trip, like I was lucky enough, had like 2,000 acres that a mate had said, yep, go there and like you can camp out and hunt on this place. And it was in the Brisbane Valley. So they're like, we've got really good genetic stags, but we want the cull ones shot. So I had to shoot things less than a 4x4. And even though that was the case, I still wanted to like go and find a mature animal. And I remember in that 2 weeks, I just learnt like so much. It was just me by myself, and I just learnt so much about hunting red deer. And from then, like the love's obviously grown. But it was just like every time you'd wake up in the morning and you'd hear, because I was sleeping out in amongst them, like you'd wake up in the middle of the night and you'd hear like 3 stags roaring, and you're like, oh, this is like the best thing ever. Life does not get better than this. And then now you'll wake up and there'll be like 2 stags roaring or whatever, and you're almost like disappointed because that like baseline threshold level is just so much higher now that it's like, whereas like I think back this rut where like Aiden and I got into this like rutting fiesta where we called it, like we were just hind calling this valley. The wind was shit. Like we didn't even deserve to have this day that was like really special. But we like called in like 5 stags and we'd only moved our feet like 10 meters, you know what I mean? And like a lot of them were like young stags, but there was this one like cracking stag with a broken antler that like came into like 20 meters. So I could have easily shot him, skylined himself on this rock, and he's like, and just like roaring and like carrying on and stuff. And you're just like, oh, wow. But like, it's crazy how high your threshold becomes because you've just done it so much. And that's where now, like, I'm having this like reflection where I'm really enjoying like taking other, especially like beginners hunting and like other people hunting and like helping them with their journey, because like I said, you're almost like their happiness is your like little crack, like bag of happiness as well, because like, or you take someone in and they get their first goat and they're like, or first pig or whatever, or first fox, or you whistle in a fox where like, we'll go to some place and whistle in 10 and shoot 5 in a day. And you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like it was a sick day. Don't get me wrong. But like, we've sort of done that. And whereas you take someone else and whistle in 1 fox and they're like, this is the best thing ever, like, and they're so happy about it. And like all of a sudden, yeah, you just get this like, I don't know if it's like pride or joy or what the feeling is, but you just get you certainly get the warm and fuzzies because of it. And that's
nostalgic, I think.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. Like, and it's like obviously Aiden's about to have his first kid first little girl in the not too distant future. So it'll be interesting to see that unfold, I guess, for him, with her as like she obviously grows up. And like, take my hat off to his partner Alice, who like came hunting with us yesterday at 37 weeks or something like silly. And we obviously, like Aiden and I had some filming to do for like some educational stuff. And anyway, she was like an absolute trooper, like coming along and with us. And I was like, does this count as a like first hunt? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, at what stage is it like? And she's like, yeah, no, this doesn't count. But I see like for them, they'll be, like I'm sure within like as soon as she's 4 weeks old, I reckon they'll be out there.
Most likely.
Like,
Well, he's contemplating like, I'm going out to Western Queensland and I'm probably going to do a bit of bow hunting out there on pigs and goats and stuff myself, just in my spare time. And Mel's just picked up my old bow and got it set up for her, so I'll take her out and do a little bit of stuff. And then Aiden's already contemplating like having a baby and then driving out to hang out.
Cool.
And it's like a 12-hour drive with a infant.
I think everything's, I don't know, like this is coming, like, people are going to be like, you dick. But it's just like, I feel like, yeah, there's from my very limited experience and external perspective of parenting, there's 2 very different mindsets when it comes to parenting. And it's, I'm going to make the children or child fit into my life, or it's like, I'm going to let the kid consume my life. And it's just like, because I've got, like now I'm at the age 31 where I've got both. And I've got friends that are like, oh yeah, I'll just put my baby in a carrier and literally take it out hunting. And I've got people that, they've got kids, like they've got 1 child to say, and it's 3. And they've hunted 2 days between that child being born. And they used to go for like 50 days a year, and now they just don't hunt. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting seeing that, like,
yeah, and neither's wrong either.
Oh,
like,
no, there's not a right or wrong. It's just like the perspective of the parents' mindset of like how, yeah.
I think it also comes down, and I can talk
Yeah,
because
you have a child.
I have a child. So I think it comes down to a lot of like you spending time with them regardless. For me, like my daughter's very girly. She's 3, but she's very girly. I don't ever foresee her really getting into fishing or hunting or hardcore outdoor stuff. I can see me going to maybe swimming, ballet, all that sort of stuff. And I thought I'd have a problem with it, but I'm just stoked that she's like, that she's happy. And that if she's happy, that I don't give a shit what she does.
Yeah.
And I'll be 100% supportive of it. Whereas beforehand, I was like, she needs to hunt and she needs to fish and she needs to be outdoorsy. She needs to be able to handle herself. She needs to be able to, like
change a tire, shoot a shotgun,
literally,
put on a train.
all that
stuff.
Like yeah. And now I'm like, nah, it's not about me. And then I see like a lot of parents like want to just like their we'll call it free time, their passion, recreation might be hunting or jiu-jitsu or whatever else it is. But then they have this kid and they're like, nah, that's my purpose. Now, all the rest doesn't matter as much. So then it's just about doting to that child because they're so passionate about being a good parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
well, we've had, like me and my partner, Eden, have had the same discussion because she's like, she's like, well, firstly, she's like, what if you have girls? And I'll be like, I'd be stoked. Like, I don't know, the concept, like I've just met some really badass girls recently, like younger girls, that are like, you know, the ages of even like 5 all the way up to sort of like 16, 17. And there's some like, whereas I hadn't really met, and they're not even hunters or anything. They're just like interacting with like children really that are females. Because a lot of like everyone in my family, like I think there's like of all my extended WOG cousins and stuff, like there's like pretty much like 4 girls and like 2 are super girly, 2 are like a bit tomboy and stuff. But then for the most part, like it's all like there's like 15 other cousins and stuff and they're all just dudes. Like the seed is strong for males in this family. And then, so yeah, she's like, how would you think if we had a girl? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like she'd just be like a little badass. And I think for me, it's just like, and she goes, well, what if, because she's really like, she's into her horse riding and all that type of stuff. So she's like, well, what if she just wants to like ride horses and doesn't want to, what if they want to ride horses? I'm like, that's fine. But I'm like, they're still going to like, with how passionate I am about hunting, like I'm still going to expose them to like the outdoors and stuff. And that's how I think, like that's where, you know, obviously start with like camping and fishing and all that type of stuff when they're 3 or 2 to 7. And then it's like, okay, if they want to like grow from that, where it's like, okay, yeah, see dad go and shoot something, or like, you know, come on the hunt, or maybe not even see dad shoot something, but just come. Because I wouldn't even, because I said, like, I'm happy to be like a stay-at-home dad or whatever, like house husband as I call it, a fair chunk of the time, because it's pretty easy for me to manage both like the Twin Elements work and my veterinary work. So I'm like, and she's pretty passionate about career and stuff. So I'm like, I'm happy to stay at home and look after the kids. And then she goes, oh, how would you feel about like taking them hunting if they like scared anything? Because she, at the moment, like whenever she comes hunting with me, if she snaps a twig or a stick, I'm like, you know, what are you doing? Like, you know, like, and she's like, oh, what if the kid starts crying? I'm like, yeah, but the difference is like, I don't care if the kid cries, because if the option's not going hunting or go hunting and 99% sure the kid's going to cry, well, at least there's that 1% chance that I might be able to go and get something.
They also don't know what they're doing.
That's right. And like, for me, it's like they're going to have, you know, I'm, like I said, talking about like going back to what we're saying about nostalgia, like I will get that endorphin high from just watching them stalk a kangaroo. You know what I mean? And then they turn around, they got like, you know, a smile from ear to ear and they're like, oh, dad, you know, and over the kangaroo doesn't kick shit out of them. But, you know, like, yeah, that's going to be so cool to see. And so like, I'd rather, for me personally, like I'd rather go and stalk kangaroos even, or go and whistle in foxes and stuff, than just go to like a park. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just that, progression in life, I guess. But
here's a concept that I practice, like, with my daughter, is she doesn't know I do it, but like, there's families that do, they explain to their kid hunting, and they talk about death and taking of animals. I choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Hallie knows that I go out and I film animals, and I give her deer antlers, and I explain what the deer, like once a year, the deer will grow these out and then it'll shake its head and they'll fall off, and she runs around with the antlers on her head, like casties and stuff, and mucks around and stuff like that. Understands that I eat deer meat, all that sort of stuff. But is only 3, obviously, so she can't link the two
Hmm.
things together. Purely because I'd rather her have an understanding and appreciation for wildlife and all of that sort of stuff. And then when she's old enough to understand the concept of ethical, sustainable hunting, incorporate that into her base understanding. So then she has an objective opinion. She can form her own objective opinion of whether she believes in hunting or not.
Yeah.
Versus me, and I don't know, feel like it's probably much of a muchness as to which works or which doesn't. It's like, because if you bring your kid up like you guys did, like you've been hunting since you were like 4 years old,
Yeah,
which is the complete opposite. And like your dad just took you out and you learn about hunting and the death of animals and the process and the food and all of that sort of stuff right off the bat. I chose the opposite of that, purely from this perspective of potentially like her forming her own objective opinion, whereas for you it was a part of you before you had a choice for it to be a part of you.
Yeah, definitely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where we like. I agree with that 90%, because I'm assuming like you're 100% right in terms of we in some ways were like almost brainwashed, right, into like, but in the same sense it's almost like we obviously loved it enough that we wanted to continue to keep doing it. So like we were either, whether it was just the fact that we're like hanging out with dad, or you know, we were going and seeing cool things or doing cool things. And that's what, like, I had to write a bio for a company that we work with today. And like, it was something along the lines of, you know, we started at 4 years old and the concept was catching lizards, looking at birds, listening to bird sounds and like identifying what bird that is, having mud fights, you know, just appreciating the great outdoors. At then the age of 11, so after 7 odd years of just like, and like we would go and hunt with dad or whatever, or we'd go and like stalk things, but like, I don't even think, like, I can't remember, like, watching dad shoot stuff. Like, often dad would be like, hey, can you just, like, wait here? Because as we were talking about, like, imagine how hard it is getting with, like, 2 twin boys that are 6 years old on anything. Like,
literally anything.
Like anything. Like, you know, so, like, until it was 11, and then really the concept, and then at that point it was like, okay. And then it's like, okay, well, let's go out and go hunting. And so, obviously we had, like, there was any opportunity for us to take an alternate route, I guess, if we weren't having fun or didn't want to do it. And there's like I've got plenty of mates' kids that probably had similar upbringings to us, and then their kids at some way along the journey have just gone, or actually, dad, like, I didn't really enjoy, you know, doing that. Or like, you know, I didn't like shooting whatever Bambi, or I didn't like shooting that fox or rabbit or whatever, or like I didn't like seeing the blood come out of that animal or whatever, and they've stopped doing that. And so I guess for us, like we never had that, and so we just stayed on the ride, and then obviously here we are now that we're doing it. But I think what you've done, like, yeah, because then like what you said, like she gets to make her own opinion of it, with as much informed decisions as what's possible. But it's also, I guess there's the risk in that is there's probably more outside contributing factors on what her opinion will be at the age, whereas like you're obviously raising her with your core beliefs and fundamental understanding of what you think is right in the world. Right.
Yeah, well, you have to, I guess. 'Cause that's all
and
you
that's
got to go
parenting.
off.
That's
all you
parenting.
get to go
like,
off.
hopefully, you know, God, there's some crackhead junkies out there that shouldn't have kids, but like, you know, for the most part, you'd like to think that at least in like as terrible as what we are as human beings, in like, you know, being selfish, pig-headed, you know, like most people should at least put, like, kids are almost like our form of like redeeming all of the prior mistakes that we've
You want them
done
to be
in
better than
ourselves.
you.
Exactly.
Or whatever, yeah.
You know, like you want them to be the best parts of you and not the worst parts,
Mhm.
in a fundament, like, you know, a simple thing. So hopefully, you know, going back to the hunting stuff, like you're putting into your child something that you think, that you believe in, because you do it at a very high, you know, like it's part of your life, it's part of your job, you know, like, so then, you know, I guess there's the opportunity for other people who are as just as entitled. I mean, not in probably your daughter's life, they're probably not as entitled to their opinion as high as your opinion, but there's then the external opportunity, I guess, where people can come in and
she might be best friends with a vegan in school.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, then that changes the whole dynamic of the whole situation. But at least that way she has an option to, or either. I think there's it's like neither way is wrong.
Right,
but she would have the vegan friend hypothetically to. I don't like it. Let's use vegetarians. I think veganism's silly, but let's go vegetarian.
Yeah, or just whatever. Someone that dislikes hunting, or
whatever.
That'll
do. A conservationist that has
different management opinions and views.
Yeah. Let's use that. At least that way she can come in and go, Dad, I hate hunting. I don't like hunting. I'm like, okay, why don't you hate hunting? Why do you hate hunting? And then she'll pass her opinion on it, and then I can go, okay, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And then have a conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
About it, but it's the same thing as just being in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Because it'd be nothing like preschool where we'll just say vegetarian without having to do the long-winded explanation every time. But it'd be an awesome sight watching your daughter, the 6-year-old, hunter's daughter versus the 6-year-old vegetarian's daughter who
having a debate.
Go at it about if hunting's right or not. And it's just like,
it'd be interesting.
It's like, we may as well just get the parents in here. Let's just have a discussion. Like,
it'd be interesting to see Jay Wild's 2 kids heavily involved with what he does and his hunting and deer meat, big stags, all that sort of stuff. His daughter's like his biggest fan, which is really cool. So it's going to be interesting. And she's the same age as my daughter.
Yeah, cool.
So like it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic's like when she's at school and stuff like that too.
Yeah, of course.
And having those discussions, because it's not maybe New Zealand, it's fairly common in the demographic because there's not that many people and most of them are hunters or fishermen. But like in Australia, there's not a lot of you don't bump into a lot of people that are hardcore hunters, you know what I mean? Like every opportunity that they get, they're out hunting.
Yeah.
So it's like you go to a city school, you're not going to really bump into that many people. There are other kids.
You've got to make an active effort to go and find someone that you can talk to hunting about. Like, it's not like unless you're at like some rural wedding or something, and even then, it's probably you're talking to them about using a thermal to shoot all the foxes that are eating all their lambs as they're hitting the ground, as opposed to like
there's dotted lines, not pure direct.
As in like, no, I did a 10-day backpack hunt in New Zealand last year type of fellas. So. But
the reason I never took up bow hunting is because I never knew bow hunters until I met you guys. Like I would have 100% guarantee I would have resonated with it as a kid if I was shown it. I knew it existed. No one ever spoke about it. I never seen a bow or anything like that. My dad used to bow hunt and target shoot, but never did it when I was a kid. And so never knew about it really. But then meeting you guys and like going out to experience it immediately hooked. So it's like one of those things, I guess.
So I think what you're trying to say is that Aiden and I changed your life.
Basically. Well, it's interesting. Like I actually talk to Aiden about this fairly often. I actually talk to Melanie about you two fairly often. Is like I stopped hunting. So like I used to hunt pigs with dogs. I hunted with rifle, commercial roo shooting, all that sort of stuff. And sort of did it in between fishing, essentially. And fishing was the priority for me, my passion, all of that sort of stuff, traveled the world doing it. And then sort of I got older, priorities changed, got into business, got busy with careers and stuff like that. And it's hard to own 5 or 6 dogs and train them every day.
Of course.
And then go hunting with them all night, then get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to work. Like it's very difficult. So that sort of dropped off over time. I was traveling around heaps. It's hard to travel with dogs, renting houses. Some people don't like pets, all that shit. So I got out of that kind of game and hunting sort of dropped off, and then just fishing was the primary thing. This is an opportunity to sort of like, I picked it up and it was like immediately like one of those things. It's like individual. Hunting with dogs and stuff is cool, but like bow hunting is such an individual sport. Or hunting in general is. You can hunt with mates and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, like you're stalking to 20 meters off an animal, there's very rare occasions that you can have someone with you doing that.
Yeah.
Unless they are at the same level as you,
Yeah,
or
that's
same
right.
level of understanding, you know what I mean? So that's where I got really excited about it, and the fact that it was so difficult. And then I talked to Melanie about it often. The reason I got, and I'm not great, but the reason I got quite proficient quickly is because of you two. The ability to learn.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think like two parts there. I think like with your progression of what you were just talking about with the hunting side of things, like I see like Dad had the same progression, and I've got mates that had very similar progressions where, you know, you start off hunting with a rifle because your dad hunted or mum hunted with a rifle, right? So you start doing that, but you start at a very young age. So you get quite proficient in rifle hunting quite quickly. And then you hit these limits where you're like, you know what, going out and shooting like 10 pigs with a rifle at like 100 sort of isn't,
Nah.
it's not scratching the itch like it used to. And then some people straight away go into bow hunting then, or they go into using dogs because obviously that relate. Like I really respect, like whether it be sambar hound hunting or pig dogging or anything like that, or using birds on dogs and stuff. Like from a veterinary perspective, like that level of like, and there's all levels to it and intensities, like any you know facet of hunting, I guess, like with bow hunting or rifle hunting or anything. But like the dedication required to train dogs, like get up every day, you know, feed them, whatever, come back at night, run them, like whether you live in St Kilda in Melbourne or whether you live like out in the bush somewhere, like go and actually get the Ks into their legs so that they can, you know, go and perform on the weekend, or, you know, whether you finish work that night and actually go hunting or whatever, and then, you know, look after them, feed them, like all that type of stuff, breed them, like from a point of like trying to get the best dog possible and stuff. It's immense, like it's a crazy amount of work, like whether, like, yeah, no matter what type of dog hunting you're doing. But yeah, same thing. Like it is almost a little bit of a young man's game in the sense of like what you said. Like you get families, like unless you bring the family in and like, you know, you've got the kids like helping out with the dogs and stuff, almost where you get this like generational stuff, which we do see here in Australia. But yeah, it's almost a young man's game because it does just consume so much time. And then yeah, there is that interesting sort of transition where you're sort of looking for that next thing, which is a little bit harder, a little bit more technical. And then yeah, they do go into hunting, or bow hunting. But I think like yeah, like there's plenty of things that definitely can be said for like doing guided hunts, especially in your initial stage of the journey, because like you can spend like thousands of hours on YouTube. But it's all the little things that aren't shown on YouTube, like even our YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, and we need to get better at, it's one of the things that I want to start working on, like doing more like how-to videos, doing more like even when we're just out on the hunt, because a lot of our hunts are very much like, okay, cool, we're in this sick location, generally hunting something pretty bloody cool. And you like, we get there, you like essentially spend ages trying to find, or, you know, you find the thing that you are chasing, generally stalk in, hopefully shoot it, or like, you know, need a couple of stalks and shoot it. Don't always get what we're looking for, but like they're very, whereas like we want to start doing more like inbuilt like gear stuff, you know, how-to tips in there, why we're using that gear and all that type of stuff, just to try and, I don't know, just try and like help a wider audience, because like it's all good to go, okay, cool, like he's clearly using a knife to butcher that animal, but it's like, as someone that's used like you know, heaps of different knives, like types, whether it be like Havlon interchangeable blades or like like, you know, whatever, like a normal knife. It's like, well, why does he use that particular knife and that particular brand? It's like, well, these reasons. Or like, okay, well, as someone that's used like 4 or 5 different camo companies in his life, it's like, well, why do you use that camo? Or why do you use that backpack or that boot or that bow or that broadhead? And it's like, why do you, and then like, that's just the gear stuff, let alone the, like, well, why are you up at, you know, an hour before light to go and get on the top of the hill? And like all these things are very simple. Like they're not, you know, hugely contextually detailed answers and reasons for doing things. But it's just like there's so many little 1%ers, and like bow hunting especially is like each one of those little 1%ers is like that extra 1 meter from 100 to 20 that ultimately gets you the animal that you're chasing. And like the harder, you know, the more mature the animal is, or the harder the animal thing, or the thing that you're hunting is, the more of those like 1%ers that you need. Like if you're just trying to shoot any old pig or goat or whatever, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you probably don't need half of them to go in there and be able to shoot it. But it's like if you're going and looking for, the biggest red stag that you can potentially find, or like the biggest bull tar or the biggest elk, or there's like so many little things, and it's also like attitude, I guess, because even like I say to people are like, oh, you're like, you're one of the best bow hunters in Australia, and I'm like, I honestly think I'm okay at it. Like
I think
said,
everyone's okay at bow hunting. Bow hunting's fucking impossible.
yeah, like that's what I said. Like I'm like, there's plenty of I'm like, I stuff up way more than I ever like, and that's for me the determining factor between how good you are at hunting is like how many chances do you need to actually be successful. So like,
and maximizing your opportunity on said chances.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like how often, two factors, like how often can you find the thing that you're looking for? So like I'll go on a hunting trip and I'll find something every day that I want to go and shoot, just say. Whereas you go and you don't even know where to look. So in a week-long trip, I get 7 chances and you only get 2 because you stumbled across them, as opposed to whereas I was there, in the right spot, knew where to look, created those chances. And then also like, okay, well, how many opportunities do I need to go and chase what I'm looking for? And it depends obviously on what you're chasing, but it's like, okay, we'll just say it takes me 1 in 3 stalks, I'm successful. Whereas the new guy, 1 in 60 stalks, they're successful. And so like, yeah, it's just they find almost a tenth of the game that I find and take, need 10 times more chances than what it takes for me to go and get something. And it's also just that, like, I also say to people, I don't think I'm genuinely that good either, because I hunt more than bar maybe 2 or 3 guys in Australia that I know. I hunt more than everyone else that I know. And there are people out there that probably shoot more than me. So I'm like, I would arguably say that they're a better hunter than I am, because I hunt twice as much of them and shoot half the stuff that they shoot. You know what I mean? But it also depends on like how picky you are about the things that you want to shoot. You know what I mean? I'd rather go and shoot 1 really good red deer than go and shoot, 3 or 4 pretty good fallow bucks for the rut. So it's all like what your personal perspective is on what hunting is to you too.
I'm like that too. And I probably make it harder for myself, well, not for myself, but harder in general with what I do, because I can't go out all the time. It's impossible for me. I'd love to, but I just can't with the business and everything else. That's a bigger priority, unfortunately. But what I do is I try and control the variables I can control, which is shooting consistently, and optimizing all of that side of it, my fitness and all that sort of stuff. So when I do go out, I'm at a good chance. But at the same time, I make it harder because I don't know how I feel about, like, a good thing to go and do is like hunt hinds and turn over animals, like use a chital stag, for example, shoot a 23-inch chital stag that's a young stag. I would feel bad about that. Even though it's probably really good practice, really good stalking opportunities, and you're going to see more of those types of stags.
Yeah.
Versus I would probably rather not and just be persistent and spend 12 months over 20 trips to find that 28, 29, 30-inch stag.
See, this topic is something I've actually thought about. Am I sitting in the right spot?
No, you're good. You're good.
Because I feel like I keep shifting.
No, you're good. You're good. I keep looking at this because I've at the screens on the camera, because I didn't change the I thought I put real big SD cards in so we could do back-to-back podcasts.
And you didn't.
Nah.
So we're running out.
Yeah. But we've got looks like 20 minutes on each card. So we've got heaps.
We got heaps of time.
Yeah.
But no, like I was saying, so this topic is something I've actually really thought about and like try to rationalize in my mind, because like, especially with hunting and social media nowadays, like everyone has an opinion, right? So I try and remain like very neutral when I like offer advice, right? Especially around the rut, where you see people like,
oh man,
this is a cull stag, and I'm like, that's the most beautiful young fallow buck I've ever seen. You know what I mean? But who am I? What right have I got to go and say to that guy, like, you shouldn't have shot that, right? Because I don't know if that's his or her first buck. I don't know if he spent or she spent 20 days to get that, 5 years to get that fallow deer. Like there's so many other factors, and that's what I mean. Like hunting is so personal, right? So what I've developed in my own head is I'm massive for progression, and I think it actually helps your hunting progression as well, like in terms of skill, right? Because so you were just saying before, like, I've never shot a chill deer, I don't know what I should do. My recommendation to you would to be go, if funding allows it and time and all the rest of it, is go and shoot the first deer that's like mature, right? That you can. So if that's like a 20-inch chill deer, go and shoot that first, right? Because you will learn so much from that. Because like you can stalk a chill deer that's 20 inches and you can get into 25 and you can draw back and you can go to shoot it and let down. And in your mind, you go, I just shot that chill deer. If I wanted to have shot that 20-inch chill deer, it would be mine, right? But the thing is, what you didn't practice is you didn't realize that you had to aim like right on the bottom of the brisket because that chill deer was actually looking at you because it caught you move. And so in your mind, even though I was looking at you, you go, oh yeah, it's only 27 yards. When I let go, it would have gone in there. But what you didn't practice that day was the fact that you should have aimed at the brisket. You didn't, and you aimed in the middle of the body. And then it jumped the string. When you actually went to try and shoot it, it jumped the string and you backstrapped it, right? And you didn't get the chill deer. And then you get really sad and you send me a message on Instagram and you go, James, I had the shittest day ever. I got into 28 yards of this really nice chital stag. Been spending a year trying to get it. Don't know what happened. And then I go, look, mate, what probably happened is I said, were you aiming halfway at the body instead of aiming for the lower third or whatever? And you go, yep. And I said, look, you got 99% right, but you got that 1% wrong. You know, next time aim for the bottom of the heart, especially if they're looking at you at 28 meters, or don't even shoot, right? Rather than take that shot. And you go, cool. Right, so you got two very different stories here. A month later, you've got 90, you find the weekend to go out again, right? You've got the layout, you know how to find them, you know how to get in on them, you got the win right, you wait till the middle of the day, you've got the textbook all lined out, right? Scenario 1, you did 99%, scenario 2, you did 100%. But this time it's a 29-inch stag, the one you've been chasing, right? So you get in there, and you still get into 25 meters. Old mate doesn't know you're there, but he's bedded, and you shoot him. And as you shoot him, he like jumps up and stuff. But you thought about he was going to move when you shot, and so you aimed. In scenario 2, you do that tiny little adjustment, and all of a sudden he runs 30 meters and falls over. Scenario 1, you send me a really sad message saying, you know what I mean? And so like, and whether that's just one scenario, but that's like, I tell people like Australia is overrun with deer now. Like we've got too many deer already, right? So like I tell people, whether you're a bow hunter or a rifle hunter, go and shoot every single female. Like if you're managing a population, you should be shooting like 20% of the hinds there like every year, because like the numbers are doubling all the time. So if you're not shooting at least 20%, like unless you rock up, and like don't get me wrong, I've got populations where like on 30,000 acres, there's like 4 red deer hinds, and I've got like trail cameras on all the dams, like everywhere, you know what I mean? So like I'm monitoring it. I'm walking around there all the time looking for pigs and goats and stuff. And they're just like, they're there in a very small area and they move around and stuff. But like, even if I was like wildly out on my estimate, there might be 10, right? So I think there's 3 or 4, just say there's 10. But like, I've got other places where there's shitloads and like, you've just got to shoot them. And like I said, like we're our worst enemies because we're like, oh yeah, more deer is better, and you know we talk about this all the time, but it's like if you're not at least getting that 20, sometimes even 50%, the numbers just wildly get out of control.
Look at where we went yesterday. It's like I stalked, and there was a mob of 150 with 4 stags in it. 150 hinds probably total, and they were funneling through like rats, man.
Yeah. And that's a population that like, you know, has been left like. We don't guide on there or anything like that. There's other people that guide on there. Like all we use that place for is like meat hunt, you know, where we'll just go and just say to the guy, hey, can we come and shoot a heap of hinds for you? And he's like, yeah, please. But that's where the people that guide on there full time, they should like, they're just interested in, they just go and get their whatever 5 or so stags a year from there. Whereas they should be doing more what Aiden does on the place that we hunt, where he gets hunters on the hunt to shoot hinds if they want meat. And equally, he'll go and shoot extra hinds to keep the population in check. And like he wants the numbers to breed up a little bit because the farmer's happy for the numbers to breed up. But even then, like he's aware that quite quickly, especially if like it's a good year and there's long grass and, they don't get predated by wedgies or wild dogs and stuff. But like up here, there's probably more environmental pressures for survivability of fawns compared to down in like the Hunter Valley area and stuff where deer numbers and like all up the East Coast really, like all you need to do is look at places like Wollongong or all that type of stuff in like semi-urban environments, like even Reds up in southeast Queensland and stuff, where deer numbers are just exploding, you know what I mean? Because hunters can't do anything about it, or hunters are just like, oh yeah, no, we want really big numbers. But then all of a sudden, when you get to a population where there's like in an area of 100,000 acres where there's 10,000 deer, which is like really cool for hunting, and like, yeah, you rock up and there's like deer everywhere. But the thing is like, well, 10,000 deer next year quickly becomes 19,000 deer because 1,000 die of, 10% die of predation or like hit by car mainly. Maybe a couple of hunters, like all this stuff. But even then, those hunters are generally only shooting the males, so it does nothing to a population. All of a sudden, 10,000 goes to 19,000, 19,000 goes to 35,000.
Then there's no food. Then the genetics turn to shit because they're not getting enough nutrients and you're not getting good
it's not the
stags.
genetics turn to shit.
Not genetics, sorry. Yeah. The nutrients for the antlers.
There's not enough nutrition so that antler growth gets, reduced. Like they're not hitting their genetic potential. So that stag... that Chiddle stag, instead of him being a 32 this year when he's 7 or 8 years old, he's only a 29 because he ran out of grass, because instead of there only being, 50 deer within 2 kilometers of him, there's
also
fucking 500.
Have you ever tried to stalk 50 deer with a bow?
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm going to change these cards. We've got like 3 minutes left.
Righto.
And then we'll keep going.
Righto.
We're back. Quick SD card. What were we talking about?
Lord only knows. Guys, what were we talking about?
Yeah, wish it was live. No, we were talking about it was to do with, I can't even remember. It's to do with people learning to hunt, wasn't it? No, it was about managing deer populations. It was about managing deer populations. Yeah, and we got to the point where I was like, the last thing that was said was me saying, have you ever tried to stalk 50 deer with a bow? To make the point of like overpopulation is a thing.
Yeah. No, we're also talking about, progression in hunting as well before that because so that's where, especially with social media, I try and, I don't know, like have a pretty open mind. Like, and to be honest, it just means that I don't really comment on things other than, congratulations, mate. I'll definitely private message people if I see something because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I've done my dues in the sense of like when someone's like, super old red stag or whatever, and especially I use the example of like the red stag I shot this year, unreal genetics, some of the best in Australia. Probably only a 5 or 6 year old deer. You don't hear me being like I've got mates that were like, look at like people that are pretty well known hunters in Australia and like pretty accomplished and stuff. But people are like, oh, look at the mass of him, super old, must have been like, just about to go backwards, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm sitting there going like, actually, no, mate, he's probably 5, maybe 6, probably just hitting his straps. Personally, I would have loved to have seen the deer probably get 2 or 3 years older, but doubt it would have happened. And it was also the biggest red stag I've ever seen. So I'd also be dumb to pass it up. But it's like, there was a part of me that was thinking that.
Someone else would have shot it if you didn't, bro.
Oh, I know someone, the guy next door who shot like 4 or 5 would have shot it if I didn't. But the point is, like, if I see someone be like, oh, this is a super old, gnarly fallow buck, and I look at it and I'm like, it's probably 3.5, I'll like actually message them if I can be bothered. And be like, hey, mate, don't want to like, I'm not discrediting your trophy in any way. Incredible. You've done fantastic. But also like, that buck or that pig or whatever. Like, as I see with pigs and stuff too. Like, people be like, oh, look at this super old boar. And you're like, it's 60 kilos with small unbroken hooks. Like, that's probably
floppy ears, man. Floppy ears. The floppy ears and the like shoulder pads.
I mean, it's not like I'm not trying. I try and do it in the most respectful way, like educational, essentially way possible.
Just push your mic away a little bit, away and down, just a tad.
I'm excited.
Yeah, like another. Yeah, like a fist. Perfect. That's perfect.
Jesus.
That's perfect.
Say it again, please. Just my ego. No, I'm
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, going back to what you were saying about your stalk and progression and stuff, like that's where, especially with the bow, like you just need reps. And so I'm super passionate about people because that's the other stigma and negative thing about social media is as much as you've hopefully got people like me reaching out and saying, hey, mate, like, you know, like trying to educate and, hey, maybe that stag isn't or that buck isn't as old as you think. And like helping and answering questions. And, you know, like we've got the podcast, maybe YouTube, like blah, blah, blah. There's also the fact that you just see some really gnarly hunters shoot a whole lot of good shit. And your expectation is that, you know, people go and shoot massive 240-inch fallow bucks. But the realistic thing is that most people only shoot 200-inch fallow bucks and probably will ever shoot a 200-point fallow buck. And so, you know, you're looking for the deer essentially that most likely probably doesn't exist in your area as the first one, and you're putting in like all this time and you just never like, yeah, you're passing up opportunities that you should probably be taking. And like I said, it actually improves your hunting. Like you obviously enjoy it more too because you get some success, which like, yeah, no one likes just walking around for days and days, except for if you just like generally enjoy like the wildlife photography inside like us. But like, you know, you do need like, it's all about like delayed, it's all fine to have delayed gratification, blah, blah, blah. But like sometimes you do need that little dopamine hit, like, and actually get something. But yeah, just also perfecting the craft. And that's where like hinds and does, become really, really important because it's like, I don't know, it's just as hard going and shooting a hind or a doe. In some ways, it can be a lot harder.
They're way more switched on, man.
Than it is shooting a stag, like or a buck, because especially at certain times of the year, like don't get me wrong, like plenty of stags and bucks like outside the rut are like super cagey and smart and you know,
even animal behavior, man, like getting into the point where like identifying where an animal's looking in your direction or it's looking at you. You can tell the difference. Like,
just being comfortable, in that.
Yeah, oh no, it's only looking in my direction. It's still sitting there chewing its cud. Its ears are like moving around. It's not like pricked up. Like all that sort of stuff is like hugely valuable. And you only get that from at least starting a stalk. To get that.
And that's where Chittle are very good at teaching that because you get with Chittle, you don't have any cover. Like, you know, it's like, oh, cool, 20 deer, me, 2 trees, 100 to 20, let's go. You know, 100 meters to 20 meters, let's go. So you get used to being like, cool, I'm standing in ankle high grass in the shade of this tree and that hind is looking this way, but she's not looking at me, she's looking this way. And then she puts her head down, goes back to feeding, or she might actually be looking at me. Shit, don't move. She puts her head down, feeds, pops it back up. And you are aware of that, so you didn't take that half step, get busted, and scare off the mob of deer. But it's like I find that people that hunt the mountains, especially with like a lot of cover, are they don't like they're not like. And I honestly like we have this conversation with Dad all the time because he doesn't hunt nearly as much as what we say that he should, right? And he comes on these big trips with us, and I actually had this experience with Dad where I got him in on some hinds and we're trying to get on the stag that had sort of moved off. And he, like there was a hind at 50 meters or whatever, like walking towards us and just like chilling out and stuff. And Dad's going, she's seen us, she's looking at us. And I'm like, she has no idea that she's there. And like, I'm sort of like half moving and like I'd get a bit itchy and like scratch myself and stuff. And he's like freaking out, like, stop moving. She's looking, but she's got no idea. I'm like, just because she's like looking and stuff. And that's where I said, like, I actually grilled Dad after it a little bit. And I'm like, it just shows a lack of your skill that you weren't able to identify that she had no idea that we're there. And I mean, she did bust us. She got into like 15 meters and then like, there are 2 goons standing there, like, and like camo only gets you so far. But I was like, you need to be hunting more if you can't identify that she's not like onto us. And it's pretty subtle, like don't get me wrong, but it is a little like, ears are massive. Are they chewing their cud? Like, are they a glazed over stare or are they like staring you away? And then like going back to what we're saying about, like how you said Aiden and I helped you along with your hunting journey, like those are the little 1% differences that we're talking about that, ultimately determine, okay, well shit, I'm at 40. She's looking my way. I can't move. Or you don't identify whatever something and then you bust the stalk or you're successful. Like, so that's where.
And knowing why the stalk was busted too, whether you actually got seen by the deer that was even looking at you, or the deer that you didn't identify that was over to the side that you didn't count.
and that's where like there's so much time. Like I hate my my biggest pet peeve is, oh, it must be in the wind. Must be in the wind or whatever. And like, because that's the thing, like people think that a deer or a pig or whatever is going to be like evolutionary over time. These are prey animals. So if it's their best interest, in their best interest to just flee 90% of the time, like flight or fight response. So 99.9% of the time they're just like, yeah, bus, gone. I'm done. So like, but it doesn't need to be like I got winded. Like I got winded is a very easy one. But like I've seen it so many times where like, you know, the deer that, like we said, the deer that wasn't like, they were looking at a deer bedded and another deer has seen them that they didn't see and they've run off. And the deer that they're looking at just runs off and they go, oh shit, they must have, you know, we must have been winded. Or like I've seen before with even people that are like quite esteemed hunters are stalking on a pig. And you see in the video, because it's like it's like me filming you stalking on a pig. And in the particular video, like these are pretty well-known guys in Australia. And you hear, like I'm filming you, you break a stick and we're at 20 yards off this pig. And the pig just like raises its head, doesn't stop, look, anything, and just like pretty quickly runs off. And they're like, oh shit, got winded. And I'm like, you broke a stick. Like, I'm like, it didn't hit, like, and like, it was subtle, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, it's very, when there's nothing else going on, and you hear, like, even like, you know, like a pretty caged on mature boar is going to be like, oh no, I'm going to put some distance between, and I'm like, I said to him, I said, I reckon if you followed him up, if it was like the country was open enough, if you could follow him up, you would find him in like 200 meters or so, and he's probably like stopped and slowed down and started feeding again. But it's just like, oh shit, there's something there, I don't like it. Instantly, I'm going to put some distance between me and whatever that is. And like most of the time, it could be just a bird, a fox, a tree branch falling, blah blah blah. But the safe thing is for me to just put some distance between it. Yeah. And like I see it over and over again where it's just like, oh, it's the wind. And like as you hunt more, for me, it's like, and that's where like I've got so many people that I do guide hunts with, and they're like, oh, like I won't even worry. Like I worry about the wind. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm super anal about the wind, checking it all the time. But like I find people stuff up stalks way more because they're worried about the wind. Where they try and they're like, oh, the wind's sort of cutting that way, so I'm going to try and do this impossible cut horizontally across an open bench when I've got red deer at 100. So I'm going to try and shuffle, you know, instead of me coming, like I'm coming from a straight direction, instead of me just coming in that direction, I'm going to go and try and come in from a 90-degree different direction at 100 with very minimal cover and 10 deer up above me on the hill, because I'm slightly worried about a wind that's like cutting off to my right. And I just see it like all the time. And then it's like, oh, what happens? Like, oh yeah, they saw you. It's like, if you probably kept going in the same line, you probably would have been right. Like, I mean, there is a chance, like you try and do everything in your best way, but I see people overemphasize the wind way, or they're like, and I've done it too and been guilty of it, where like, the wind's going to stuff me. So you move too quickly and inadvertently just stuff the stalk anyway because they see you. It's just like, you should have just let the wind get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I did that yesterday with the exact thing, because it was blowing like 2 knots all day. So it was like impossible. The gusts were coming straight into my face, and then everything else was just going left and right and swirling around like a pain in the ass. And I was just like, oh, well, I'll just go with the way the gusts are going, because that's going to push the wind the hardest. And I'll just gamble with the rest. And I had a few of those opportunities. And Aiden always drilled that into me. It was like, make sure like you identify whether it is the wind or you got seen, because they're two completely different things. So I'm always like super conscious of whether it's me that made a mistake or something like that, because I put a stalk on a bunch of hinds that were bedded behind a big clump of timber, and I was walking, like stalking up to them. I got to like 15, 18 yards or something, and it was all crumbly, dry ass bullshit. So I'm like going like incredibly slow, and any little stick that made like a slight too loud of a crack or a crumble, I'd see them prick up, and I'd have to wait for like 10 minutes. They still stayed bedded, but they were like sort of like a little bit alert, and I'd have to stand there for ages and then wait till they sort of relax down again, and then I'd keep going. And to the point where I got right up, and there was another hind walking out to like an opening, and I was probably 2 steps away from stepping out to the side of the timber and being able to draw. I don't know if I would have shot her or not. And then the hinds, to my knowledge, couldn't see me unless they could see me through a little tiny crack in the timber, which is likely. But I felt like the wind sort of push onto the back of my neck, and then within like 5 seconds, they just ran. Whereas like normally, I feel like it probably would have been like one of them stood up if it saw me, and then probably moved everything off.
Yeah. Oh, and it's all
But then I'm trying to identify those two.
Oh, and it is hard. Like sometimes you don't truly ever know. Like, hey, love.
Excuse me.
Hey, love. Did you see me or did you win me? You know, like, but yeah, I just see it all the time. And like, even going back to with Dad and talking about like how he's not hunting as much as he used to and should and blah, blah, blah. And like things that he's taught us. Oh, probably not things that he's taught us. Like we've obviously taken hunting a lot further than what he ever took us as kids. But, you know, he'd be like, oh, they, you know, like, oh shit, they winded us. And it's like, no, we're just moving too fast. And the 5 deer that we were looking at, sort of same scenario. And this is what I find often happens. It's like, oh no, the deer that I can identify and is bedded, it didn't see me, but deer off to the side or whatever, or a roo or something else has seen me and run. And that's enough that it's stood up, looked at it and gone, no, I don't like that. And then ran off or whatever. Or like so often I'll be stalking, especially with Chittle, because like he just gets so much repetition. Like you'd be stalking Chittle and you can't really see, like when they're in that thick like timber and stuff and under logs essentially, like you can't really see what's going on. And you can only see the stag and a couple of hinds. And like it's remarkable how, you know, when they run off, like you think there's 7 deer under a tree or whatever, and all of a sudden 20 bust out, right? But what happens is like you'll be looking at something and then you'll see it get nervous and it's looking like I'm bedded here facing a certain way and you're looking at me and I'm like pretty chill, and all of a sudden I get alert and I'm like looking towards Wade. And then I can't see Wade because she's behind the log, but Wade's seen me and he's looking at me as the hunter, like walking in sort of thing. And so the deer that I was looking at is like reacting to Wade having seen me. And then Wade's like, no, I don't like this, and runs off. And then so I run off because of that. And you're like, oh, it must have been the wind. But it's like, no, something's happened. And, you know, there's a chain effect because of certain, you know, generally because you're moving too quick or broken a branch or whatever. And same with like, it's so even birds and stuff. Like I've seen it before where like I ultimately just say to people, because I'm rambling about this now, but it's like, unless they're running at like a full tilt, 100% sprint away from you, the moment you think you got winded, like unless they're like bedded and then they like, I'm not talking like,
and that's what happened to me. They
I'm talking
exploded out, full sprint gone.
Yeah, I'm not talking like, and don't get me wrong, like if there's a mob of pigs around you in like a half circle shape and the ones on the right bust out and the ones in front of you and to the left stand and then they're like looking around and stuff, it's like, yeah, you still may have got winded. But it's like, especially with deer or whatever, like most of the time, like if you get winded, it's like, it should be a pretty unanimous, like,
violent,
get the fuck out of here. Not like, oh, I'm sort of going to half look at you and half not look at you and blah, blah, blah. And because people are like, oh yeah, then they like sort of winded us. I'm like, they don't sort of wind you. It'd be like you being like, oh, I sort of saw a tiger in my living room. And I decided to stay.
Yeah.
And finish my sandwich.
Yeah.
You want crack?
That's exactly what it's like.
It's like this. That's what we're literally discussing right now. Like, oh, they sort of saw me. I'm like, oh, they sort of winded me. Sorry. I'm like, no. If you sort of saw a tiger or someone standing in your living room with a knife, you would sort of jump out the second floor window to get away from them.
Yeah.
Not sort of just go back to sleep and, you know, like people, and that's what they overemphasize, like, well, they underemphasize all the other things, like, oh, you actually scared a wallaby or a roo or a bird, you know, like a cocky, a butcher bird, a lousy jack, a magpie, you know, literally just even the little wrens and shit, you know what I mean, going off. Like you underestimate the power of all of those things that make up the ecosystem around you, and you way overemphasize that, you know, oh yeah, everything just wins me like all the time. And it's like, from my personal experience, I get winded 10 to 20% of the time, and I get done for some unknown reason where, like, you know, you're stalking in on a mob and then you can't help it and you're pinned under a tree and then like a spiker walks in from the side at a completely different angle and you've got no cover and they're standing there at like 20 yards like
With your pants down.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, and then you get done for it. Like, it's, yeah. And I mean, like, I'm never going to argue with all these people about it, but it's more just like, if you're a hunter, you should probably just start thinking about it more, because you'll become a better hunter because of
I was
it.
about to
Because
say
it's
that
like,
too. Like you're more conscious of what else you're doing other than the wind. And then you learn that you probably shouldn't have done that, or you probably shouldn't have done this. And then the wind is just the wind, because the wind's going to be the wind regardless of what the fuck you're doing, regardless.
And like, and that's like I was saying, like, I've learnt so much more about, like, because we try and just be in the stalk and stay in the stalk as long as we can. Like, that's what we've just learnt about. And like in the last podcast, we talked about with Aiden, that, and I was actually going to add, like, I've become such a better hunter because of that, and not trying to, like, I'll be like, oh, if I just, like, okay, so I'm at 40 meters off something and I want to get to 30. And it's like, he's like the fallow buck's like half asleep on his scrate. And I'm like, oh, if I just like sort of half get down and like really quickly get in there, I could be at 30 and just like shoot this thing. Right. But, there is a chance that I'll get seen or blah, blah. And like, you try and take shortcuts. And I've just learned like just do everything at 100%. And like, even if it takes longer, the chance is you're going to be in the stalk for longer, and either he's going to stuff up inadvertently and just put himself into the situation that you want him in, or you're just actually going to have, like, I used to just do dumb shit where like, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and try and like belly crawl, like, there'd be 20 chital out on a flat under one tree. And I'm like, oh, if I can sort of like belly crawl out there while they're sleeping 60 meters, I'll be at like 25 meters off, and there's like a little log there that I can use as cover. And you just never get there. You know what I mean? Like, you never get to that log. Whereas now I've learned, okay, well, they actually fed, like, you've followed them from a feeding area to a bedding area, right? So the chance is they're going to go from that bedding area back to that feeding area. So even though I've got to wait 5 hours or 6 hours, I'm just going to sit at 100 meters at this tree line. And the chance is that they're all just going to get up and walk back this way. And then you shoot one, you're like, that was way better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's, so I've, for me personally, it's like, yeah, like Aiden's always had that mantra. It's just like staying in the game and stuff. But it's also like, do everything like the right way, not the easy way, which is like one of Remy Warren's sayings. Like, he actually, I don't know if he like, copyright it, but it's like in his podcast. And I think of that too when I'm like, especially in the mountains, because normally the hard way, or like the not easy way, like the easy way is going straight to whatever you want to go and hunt. The hard way is generally like the drop down the gully, drop all the way down the gully, go around the mountain, come back over the mountain, drop back in on top of whatever it is. You know what I mean? So instead of it being like, oh, cool, I'm going to push 500 meters up this ridge and like try and battle the thermals and blah, 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 and side hill it and da, 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 or I've got to do like a 3K loop. It's like, so go the easy way. Go the easy way. Go the hard way, not the easy way, or the right way, not the easy way. And then, just trying to like stay in the game, and like, don't just cheat yourself, like, and try and like, just don't trust those like impulses. And like it's a fine line, because there is ones where it's like, okay, no, like whatever, you can like make a couple of quick steps here. And like, that is sort of the art of hunting and stalking and stuff. But yeah, like, try and do the highest percentage of success. And sometimes the highest percentage of success is just doing nothing. Like, and letting them, like, staying in the stalk and letting them put themselves, or change the circumstance to increase the likelihood of you being successful in that, or get the outcome that you desire, or, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, that applies to everything, really. Like, life, business, a lot, really. The easy way is very rarely the right way. The quickest way, because if it was quick and easy, everyone would do it. Everyone would be bow hunting. Everyone there'd be dead deer everywhere. We wouldn't be dealing with population explosions, type of thing. It's funny. Like, I resonate a lot with that sort of stuff, because I hunted my red stag like a chittle, because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
The only difference is it had hills. I sat there, found him in the morning, running around like a madman at daylight, chasing hinds, fighting other stags. And I was like, no, we'll just wait. I wanted to go and push and try and call and muck around and do shit I wasn't experienced with. And so I was like, no, he'll bed. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. He's finally pushed all those stags off. He's pushed up high. He's not going to go anywhere. And sure enough, he bedded. And then I was like, okay, he's going to be there for a couple of hours at least, which gives me time to get down. And it worked out perfectly. And it's just simple things where I really wanted to push in on him and stuff like that. But he was like running around this hill face, and I was in plain sight if I was going to go down there. So like all of that sort of stuff played into it. And then right onto the whole time I was probably sub 50. pushing in on him. I was like, wanted to do this and wanted to do that and wanted to do this. Then it was all like impulsy stuff. And I was like, no, what would you normally do? What would you normally do? I had like literally to the point where he probably could have heard me talking to myself. Like I was whispering to myself what I needed to do.
God,
like,
you're so good, Wade Kelly.
Yeah,
you're going to get such a big red stag. I can't wait to tell Aiden about it.
Literally, I was like sitting there making like started to move, and I was like, no, don't do that. Like that's
like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I was like, that's stupid. Your shadow's gone straight over where he's sleeping. Don't do that. Go back around the other way, and you're just going to have to find, and you have to sit and wait. And then I just kept doing that and having those conversations, and it ended up playing out pretty much perfectly, which was cool.
Oh, I'd say it was not pretty much. I'd say it was perfect.
It did. I did.
I mean, really, well, there's probably. I mean, I don't think you're going to talk about this some other time, so I don't want to dive into it too much. But like, sounded pretty perfect when you told me about it. Like, I mean,
yeah, I literally. I
ran what, like 30 yards or something off the shot, or 50 yards or something.
Somewhere between 30 and 40 yards.
Yeah,
and died on the hill.
Sounds pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't want to, cut people's, like obviously they'll appreciate hearing the full story and stuff. But yeah, and that's where like it was interesting because we spoke about this and like I hadn't actually heard the full story. Like obviously we'd sent, shit, congratulations on socials and stuff, but not like you don't get the full story. And so yeah, it was cool hearing it. And I like that's what I said to her. I said, why didn't you go and call? And you're like, oh, because I don't know that. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, for me now, I reckon I've simplified, like, it sounds probably silly, but it's like there's like three styles of hunting, really. It's like the spot and stalk, where it's like you find the thing you want, you wait for it to get into the position that you want, and you go and stalk it, calling it in, or really just ambushing it. And so it's like you're sitting on the feed or the water or sitting in a tree stand where you know it's going to walk through or whatever, sitting on a rock. You find it and it gets into the position, which normally for most people, like I think the highest successful outcome is when they're asleep in the middle of the day. So, spot and stalk in that sense, or just on feed or whatever. And then, calling. And for me, like calling, calling is probably the sexiest.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like,
definitely
it's like, it's pretty hard to not, like, you call a red stag into 10 yards and shoot it quartering on it when it's like roaring in your face. It's pretty like, I don't want to say life-changing, but
it's pretty close.
I'm going to put it on your LinkedIn bio, put it that way.
Yeah. I called a couple of young stags in there just mucking around with like hind calls and raw horns and stuff, just playing and practicing. And it's really cool because they walk in on you like they're going to like fight you.
Oh, they want to make love to you.
Yeah,
Wait.
that too.
But then, so like that's pretty cool. But then, obviously spot and stalk, in a way, spot and stalk is an art form and way more like poetic in structure and design. And it's very like, I don't know. It's just like calling's like the sexy, like where it's like you put your emotion into it. You know what I mean? Like you're running, screaming, bugling, roaring, hind calling, whatever, croaking, raking trees, flicking rocks. Like it's all like, it's like you're in the moment, what you feel at the time. And then spot and stalk is like that slow, methodical, poetic, like me versus you, your home field advantage. Let's go. Like, let's go and do it. And then there's ambush hunting, which I just suck at. And that's just the mental grind. That's just like, you get the result from sitting in the tree or sitting at the rock and you sit, and it's just like, and some hunts that is that, like for the hog deer hunt that we did, that was it. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you walk around, like, you can't really, not that I'm aware of, you can't really call them in, you can't run. We didn't have enough country to go and spot and stalk and like move around creating opportunity because they're, tiny.
Yeah, invisible in the grass.
Yeah, invisible in the grass. You bump them. You don't even know you bumped them, which means you've scared them, pressurized them. They've moved off the place that you hunt, which means you get less opportunities inadvertently without even knowing it. So it's like ambush hunting was like, you're in a 3 meter high stand, glass until your eyeballs want to fall out of its head, So it's like all different forms of hunting. But then like that's where like a true artist can bounce between, like, it's like knowing when to hind call, even though you've done a spot and stalk all the way in, and then you just introduce a hind call at a last minute or a roar at a last minute or, that's like the, the artistic license of hunting, where it's like you put it all together in this beautiful masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's the game, man. And that's what makes it interesting. And that's why I'll probably never stop, no matter how sort of much I do it or how many animals I'm successful with or anything like that.
yeah.
Run me through your red stag this year, because it was an absolute monster.
Yeah. Do you want the whole story, final stalk story, or what do you want? Like, how long do you want it?
How was your raw?
The raw was the raw this year was completely different to any other raw because of completely unrelated reasons to Aiden and I. In the sense of like, yeah, because we bumped into like the poachers and stuff, which until the legal shit comes out, we're not meant to talk about it fully. But like, anyway, caught 3 poachers, confronted them, took a rifle off them. Yeah, they've been caught now, which is great, and they're looking at jail time, which is even better. Because even like, just as someone that's
Serial offenders, mind you.
yeah, serial offenders, but even like as a hunter, I do not want to be associated with poachers because they're the worst of us. As in, they're taking a resource from other hunters or like ethical hunters that have gone and asked for permission, but they also reflect badly on like when the news goes, 3 guys went and shot, these deer and cut. Like, 2 poachers in Wollongong go and shoot a rooster deer.
Yeah, it'll be murdered a rooster
deer and cut the head off a deer in suburbia, right? They don't go, like, oh, these guys are like extremists and they're poaching dogs and like even hunters hate them. They go, 2 hunters, blah, blah, blah. And so then when it comes time to vote and 95% of people's concept of hunting comes from what they've seen in the news and these 2 poaching cockheads, they go, oh, actually, we don't want, we want bows to have a license and we don't want bow hunting in whatever, like Australia, and we want rifle owners to only have 4 guns and we want all this stuff because, their concept of hunting is what they get from the news. And so those poachers have reflected badly on us as hunters. And I don't want to see it as much as, like, I don't care that they were trying to hunt a red stag. Like, yeah, that's annoying. They're trying to shoot a deer they try to shoot a deer that I passed up on, which is annoying, but they have every right to do that if they had permission, right? Like, I'm not there. Like, my hunting ethics and my management strategy doesn't have to be their management strategy, but they should at least do the courtesy of going and asking the property owner permission, because I reckon they'd be pretty pissed off if I rocked up with some of my mates and decided to go and take a shit in the toilet while they're having
eat their
a family
food and shit.
dinner.
Like that's what people don't
Like,
realize with property owners, man. Like, yeah, it's not a house, but it's still their land that they've paid for. That probably is generationally been in their family. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's just a safety perspective. Like, they literally fired the firearm towards a house, like towards someone that was working sheep. Like, there was so much stuff that was just dumb about this whole scenario.
Germs, man.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like, and that's where, like, as hunters, and it actually really disappoints me because then you see on the Hunting Australia page, and there's other hunters trying to defend these guys, and I'm just like, you're just as bad as them. Yeah. Like, I'm like, you didn't do the act, but you even like slightly trying to cover for these guys or justify their actions, I'm like, you are just as guilty as these other guys. And if you've got that mindset, I equally don't want to be associated with you in any way or form, because the same thing, like, you're just this entitled hunting cockhead that, displays hunting in a terrible light and is doing terrible.
The industry a disservice, man.
Oh, you're doing like hunting as a whole in Australia a disservice by trying to even justify or associate yourselves with poaching and be like, oh, it's because farmers won't let us on.
You know why they won't let you on? Because you motherfuckers leave rubbish, you cut fences, you poach deer.
It's just like, they're just entitled cockheads.
That too.
Because the thing is, it's like, okay, the farmer was there with us when he confronted us, and it's not like I would have had more respect for these guys if it was like, these aren't their names, but if they'd come and said, hey, mate, just say, I don't want to use, okay, the 3 poachers' names are Poacher 1, 2, and 3. So Poacher 1, 2, and 3 rock up at old mate's house and go, hey, mate, I know that you've got big red deer on your place or whatever. Can I come and hunt on here? And he goes, look, mate, we've already got people on here. I really appreciate you coming, but no, you can't, right? At least they've tried to get on there. These guys didn't even try. Like, they literally just jumped the fence, go and, and so the guy's there and he's like, oh, so I'm assuming you've got, like, the property owner was with us. And he goes, oh, I'm assuming you've got permission to be here. And they're like, oh, you know the answer to that. It's like, you didn't even try and get access. So it's like, what, so then people like, yeah, so it's just dumb. But
that's the reason why property owners hate a lot of,
for sure.
or dislike, like, don't let hunters on. It's because it starts with that shit, right?
And that's what happened. Like, with this place in particular, like, Aiden and I hunt on there, or I hunt on there and bring my friends on there and my brother and dad and all the rest of it. And like, that's how it happened. Like, I very much got lucky to have got access on there to not even hunt the deer, to hunt foxes and pigs, because he was lambing. Like, I hunt the place next door. He was lambing, has a problem with pigs. I met him at the front gate because I thought it was my property owner. And I was like, oh, hey, mate. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, I said, look, we were sitting over the fence the other day. There's like 10 pigs over the boundary and they're like smashing, like rooting up all your crop and stuff. I said, do you want, like I said, if they're there tomorrow or whatever, do you mind if are you happy if we go and shoot them? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And then, yeah, like, got access from there. And that was and this is a place that hasn't let anyone hunt on there for years because they had people hunting on there. Poachers rocked up, shot a deer that they liked as their pet. And like, yes, it was a big deer. And then they go, nah, we're not letting hunters on here anymore. Boom. In the same scenario where good hunters or honest people, Samaritans, get kicked off because of, people doing the wrong thing, right? Come in the middle of the night, shoot it, cut its head off, don't take any meat, leave it there because they want to shoot a big deer, right? And so the people who do the right thing get punished, right? And it's the same thing on a larger scale with this whole thing of poaching in general, and that's where I said, like, people that try and justify poaching or they don't, you're in my opinion, you're in the exact same boat or you've essentially done the deed like poachers, because it's just not excusable. Like, it's like, you should
fuck up and go buy your own block.
Oh, literally. Or pay for your access. Like, go and rock up and be like, hey, mate, firstly ask, and then if they go no, it's like, okay, well, shit, I'll give you $5,000 or $1,000 or whatever.
I can't afford to. Then fucking don't do it. Like, it's that simple. Like, you don't get the option. Go work more. Get another job. Go build your career so you can afford to do it. Like, there's a million other avenues, including not being able to hunt because you don't have access, that are still better than being a piece of shit.
Oh, but it's like, it's just that self-entitlement. Like, I would honestly love to see the fine for trespassing or hunting in like a national park or whatever go up to like $10,000.
It should.
I would love to see it because like that's the thing. Like, I look at the US system and like, yeah, they still have problems with poaching and stuff over there. And like, the system over there is like reasonable. Like, it's like, if you get caught like 50 meters over the boundary fence, you're like, oh, hey, mate, sorry, whatever. Like, that's all. Like, they'll give you a slap on the wrist and a warning and everything like that. But it's like, if you go and poach and get caught for shooting a heap of deer, like, they'll fine you like $300,000 because they're like, we recognize the generational. Like, firstly, we realize on like a, social economic level, like the impact of what that, massive whitetail brings to this community. Man, yeah. So, that might be an extra, that might if people knew that deer was here, that might be an extra 50 hunters next year, which means, fuel, groceries, motel rooms, blah, 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 all get done. Plus the genetic breeding of that animal with other animals to produce bigger and better deer in the area in the future, blah, blah, blah. And you do that across multiple animals. And like, you might shoot one deer and it might cost you 40 or 50 grand US over there, so that's where, like, I would love to see it in Australia. And like, because it puts that barrier to entry. It's like, yeah, to people doing it. But going back to your original thing, like, so that had like massive repercussions for us, like, because we were like doing police statements and going to the cop shop and all these things that happened.
Wasted time.
Just wasting time and also headspace. Like, you're like, what's the chance that I'm going to walk in on, like, I very much love calling during the rut. Like, it's what it's all about. And so it was so weird where you're like, okay, well, what's the chance I'm going to get to this roar and there's going to be a dude with a rifle pointed at me because I'm roaring going into this roaring. You know what I mean? On the tail end of it in thick scrub. And so it was just like, the concept of that was just like so unsettling that it just like, yeah. And anyway, so like we'd seen this stag.
Wait, I might just touch on. I just want to make one point on the poaching scenario and the national park stuff before we move on to the actual hunting stuff. Just because you made a really good point. So like increasing fines for poaching on public land. 100% agree. But the government in all states needs to then manage it we need to implement a government-owned game authority.
Oh, I agree.
Or first state. So then you can increase the fines. You also manage the animals. You don't just go and heli shoot the shit out of everything and just be like waste the opportunity. Hunters, I would pay $500 a year for a permit to access or a tag system or whatever else. You could have a government-based game management system for feral species because we don't really have that much native game. A government-based, maybe not pigs. Let's use deer. Let's just use deer because pigs are just impossible. Deer, a government-based game management system for deer that runs the same as the states with tag systems or lotteries and all that sort of stuff to then be able to hunt that public land. Victoria does it well, but every man and his dog's in there all at once, and I'm surprised more people haven't been shot. I like the ability that like everyone can go hunting in Victoria if you do it to a degree, but there's no revenue from that, no good revenue from that can help with the conservation of like the parks and give back
the parks
to the
resources and
all of that. I'm not saying like it helps manage deer populations because deer populations are out of control as they are, but it probably would pay for more stuff instead of it coming out of taxpayers' pockets that don't need to. People that actually want to be involved in that industry and that environment are paying.
Yeah, it makes the animals that we hunt become a resource rather than a pest.
Yeah, and then there would be less people like an open public land in every state. Allow camel hunting, allow goats, allow pigs if you want, allow deer, all of that sort of stuff, and do a permit system because then you're less likely to get poachers cutting fences and jumping fences and shooting stuff and shooting other people by accident. Shit like that.
Well, that's where New South Wales with their R license and stuff, has been pretty good. The high country is good just from like an access point, like Victoria, obviously, just from having access, like which is great. But there's so many other national parks, correct, where like you could open them up for pigs or goats or deer or whatever.
The territory. The territory for buffalo, which is like a huge, and pigs, like pigs in general are destroying Australia, but buffalo particularly, like massive, massive environmental impact on erosion and everything like that. Huge, huge impact. Those scrub bulls, well, scrub bulls are kind of touch and go because like people are going to make the mistake and shoot a tag bull eventually by accident, I would think. But like all of that sort of stuff, like Queensland's a massive, massive, massive state that has a whole heap of feral game, and it's increasing. Like all of the north is full of deer, and all the south's full of deer now.
Oh, it's all, and that's the thing. Like often national parks are just reservoirs full, but it's also like it's all good. It like I agree with everything that you're saying, but like it comes back to that. Like we want the access, and we say that we're going to manage it, but we've got to, as hunters, we've also got to have that mindset shift where we don't manage the overall population and hinds and stuff or does nearly as well as what we should. Because like I said, like it's like, oh yeah, more deer is better. It's like, no, that's
not how it
not
works.
true for, trophy potential. It's not true for the environment. It's not true for just conservation overall.
But if you're talking...
So, like, I actually really support... I would love to sit in a chopper with them when they chopper shoot and just be like, just shoot all the females. Which isn't going to it's never going to happen. But it's like, I've always I always tell, like one of the
There's a cruelty aspect to that too though. Because there's like...
100%. 100%. Like there's, Oh, and I like, there's things that I don't like about it in the sense of, tons and tons of wasted game meat, right? There is a cruelty component, but there's, as hunters, we're not can't sit here and on our high seats and say, oh, I've never not wounded an animal before.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know what I mean? So, like, there's plenty of animals that you quickly put a follow-up shot into, like, and like as hunters, we try and overemphasize all the negatives of aerial culling, right? But we never like to take the responsibility and say the reason why this has happened is because we as hunters have allowed it to happen and let the numbers get out of control.
Yeah.
So we jump up and down and go, oh, no, they shouldn't do it. But we never go, oh, well, actually, I'll take responsibility and do what I've done and go and get my firearms license now and realize, oh, yeah, I'm a pretty good bow hunter, but I can't go out in a weekend and shoot 40 fallow does. So I'm going to go get a 243 or a 223 and go out and 2 or 3 times a year go and shoot them. And like the place that I'm talking about in particular, way too many fallow deer. Old mate said to me the other day, oh, hey, the place, they contacted me. We've chopper shot the whole place. In the area, they shot a couple of thousand deer. I'm like, sick. That makes it so much easier for me because I don't now have to go. Like I said to him, I said, look, in the next 2 years, I want to shoot like 600 to 800 deer. And then he's
and
like,
it sounds excessive, but it's actually not when you're in the game.
oh, it sounds excessive. But the thing is, like, it's just trying to get it to like a manageable population level. Because that's the thing. Like, if I shoot 600 to 800, like, just say I shoot, like, I think there's 1,200 deer there. If I was to shoot 400 deer this year, that would bring it down to 800, of which hopefully I think the ratio is way out at the moment. Like, I think there's like, if there's 1,200 deer, I think there's like 100 bucks and 1,100 does. Like, it's just say way out.
Not cool.
Right? Not cool. So just say I shoot 400 does, all of a sudden there's 100 bucks still and like, 700 does. Next year I shoot another 400. But in that same time, those 700 does have had 700 fawns in theory.
Yeah, and the majority of those are going to be does too.
Sorry, but it should be a 50-50. There's no like X and Y chromosome. There's no bang for your buck, 50-50. I mean, it is tiny. If you want to get into a detail, there's tiny. It's not 50-50, but we'll just say 50-50. So 700 fawns drop. So the population does double back to 1,400, but there should be 350 yearling, like 350 spikers and 350 does the year after. So if I just keep on top of the does, then eventually, but yeah, they went and chopper shot the shit out of it. So it's like, oh, cool. Instead of me having to try and shoot 800 in the next 2 years, if I just go ham and shoot 400 in the next 2 years, then that should, like, at least that's, back to a base level. And then it's just managing it from there where you're like, oh, I'll shoot 100 a year. And then that's where you get good bucks. That's how you get the good bucks.
Which is one of the biggest complaints.
And can actually stalk them and shoot them and stuff, because there's nothing harder than shooting the biggest buck on a lek that has
every hind in the hill, on the hill.
Like 10 other bucks, but 60 other does in an area. Like, even if you're a rifle guy and it's like semi-thick stuff, you just can't do it. So anyway, that
opening couple of points to make, I guess, is like opening a commercial industry for it, and it's slowly improving. I feel like we're going to get there eventually. There'll be a better recognized commercial industry for deer meat, which then should end up in actual supermarkets.
Well, there is. There's like, they're starting to do stuff where, like with roo shooters and stuff, where obviously they make money and send them.
Yeah.
But
I mean like proper, like as you can walk into any supermarket and buy beef, you can buy deer. Is like where I mean with it should get to, because it's essentially a free repopulating resource that requires.
At this stage, it would be a fairly sustainable.
It's like the goats as well, actually.
And needed, form of like wild game meat, and super healthy. Like it's like, I mean, it's almost venison. That is like, it's the highest protein in red meat, like even over beef and lamb and stuff. And then it's also like, 99% fat free.
And I have a perspective for non-hunters to consider too, or anti-hunters, not non-hunters, anti-hunters. You go, oh, don't kill the deer at all. It's cruel. Blatantly obvious. Overpopulation becomes an issue because they're just like ants. And I go, okay, well, that's not my problem. So I go, okay, overpopulation is an issue. So, and they go, well, aerial culling's the answer, or whatever else it is. And you go, okay, well, are you comfortable with your taxpayer dollars funding helicopters to shoot the shit out of Australia and pay for all that sort of stuff? And they go, okay, well, no, I don't want my tax money going there. Not that you have a say, but I would prefer it doesn't. And you go, okay, well, what's the plan? Oh, fuck the deer. They're not my problem. I don't care. Okay. Do you eat meat? Or do you eat anything really, I guess, like crops, like anything.
Hmm.
And they go, okay, well, yeah, I do. And then, well, the question is, are you comfortable with those prices inflating 3x, 5x in the next 10 years, purely because the deer have eaten the shit out of everything? Now soybean is a commodity, a rare commodity. It's 3/4 impossible to run cattle without grain bins now, and like all that sort of stuff.
It would never, it'd never get like
no, but
farmers.
I know what you're
that's
trying to say. That's an extreme point to make, but
like
it
I guess
affects you regardless of whether you like hunting.
I guess
or not.
there was something on the news the other day, and this is like so. I don't know her name, so I'm not going to say her name or anything like that. But it was like I think it was the Animal Justice Party. So there was something on Nine News, and we were talking about how the wild deer population is exploding in Australia, and everyone was having their say, right, about how it should be done and blah, blah, blah. And I think it was the Animal Justice Party or whatever jumped in there and was saying, we don't want the deer shot, but whether they would propose doing like essentially sterilization, where they like sterilize them so they couldn't breed. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And that's going to have great, like it will have impacts on the population. But it's like you would have to do, in order for the population to not just say even be what it, like you need to do a huge number of
it would
the
be
population.
more expensive than aerial culling.
Oh, way more. Because you got to catch them all.
Because you'd be tranking or mustering and stuff, wouldn't you?
Like so like it's essentially it's not even possible. Like it's not possible unless you could do it as a feed additive where you could feed them, but then you've still got to pay for the feed. All right. So unless you could like somehow feed them something that like attacked their testes or something, like, or introduce like a virus or something that killed their their sperm spermatogenesis, sperm creation or something, or introduce something that made all the females like, essentially if you could somehow wipe out their breeding. But even then, it's like, okay, well, do you want to wipe out a population? Because if that's the case, like you're going to make everything infertile, and that's going to be a pretty high cost, even if you could do it from putting it in feed, which I almost guarantee you they couldn't, because they'd be doing it with cattle or sheep or stuff like that. So the only known way of doing it is injectable hormones, which then, essentially suppress. And it's not like there's no long-lasting forms of doing it. Like you need to continually redo it. So
James is a vet, by the way. So he's not.
I'm not rambling shit.
Uneducated advice.
And I work with cattle 100%. So like I deal with this every day that I'm not hunting. A little disclaimer. But yeah, so I'm a veterinarian, work with cattle. So I'm like, that's all cool. But I'm like, at the end of the day, the immediate environmental and conservation impacts, like net result is like taxpayer money spending is like shitloads. Immediate improvement is like zero. And like, because you've essentially got to wait for the animals to die. And even then, there's no form of like, if it was a blanket, just do it to them all, well then, yes, that's fine. But there's no reasonable way of doing that. If it was like a selective way, well, you're never going to do enough that it's going to impact the population anyway. So the net result will be you'll feel really good about it, spend a shitload of taxpayer money. And so it was like, yeah. But then they don't want hunters shooting them because, and this is the point of it, they don't want hunters shooting them because they don't like hunting. But I'm like, it's the only proposed way that it's actually going to like do something.
I think the animals are here to stay. I think we need to choose what we do with them, rather than or just ignore it and try and band-aid fix it. I think there needs to be a system that's generationally implemented for a long period of time. Like I understand America has like the country essentially owns, the crown owns the animals type of thing, but they are native, so it's not really applicable here. You could make it that way if you wanted to change it, but I don't feel like there's any value in doing that to a feral species. So there needs to be a system implemented that manages the population, that uses the animals as a resource, and that grows revenue for the country all in the same breath. And it's all right in front of everybody's face. It's very, very doable. Everyone wants it. It's just there's so many disconnected pieces to the puzzle that no one wants to talk about and have discussions about, because we're so blinded by like far leftists that don't hunt, that don't understand hunting. Like, you don't have to hunt or even like the idea of killing an animal, but you can still have an understanding of why other people do and have a respect for that.
Yeah. Oh, and they do, and they hate it. Like their concept is that like most of them would argue in the animal justice party. Like, I understand hunting, and I think it's done by serial killers and psychopaths, and which is fine. Like,
We are the biggest conservationists.
This is my argument. I'm obviously very, very passionate about it, and from a
I just realised we've got on just a completely different tangent to talk about.
I know. It's like, hey, my red stag hunt's been really good.
We'll get back there.
But so I have this discussion, and like, okay, I'd like to think I'm extremely passionate about it. I would also like to think I'm not a bogan, and I'm very well educated.
You got a PhD, man.
I got a bachelor in veterinary science. So, I'm like very educated in what our agricultural systems look like, because I work in that industry every day as a vet. So, when people talk to me about topics like animal welfare and what we should do, and, like modeling and stuff for like feeding large groups of people. And like, I say to her, like, on a general scale, like, everyone becoming a hunter is not sustainable. Like, we need our agricultural systems, but it doesn't mean that, like, I don't know, like, it doesn't mean that hunting can't be a part of it. Like, and also, like, when you talk to these people, they've got these like very, I don't know, like very extreme views, in the sense of
they're uneducated, man. I think they're uneducated views. They lack perspective. Sorry,
they lack perspective. I was going to say, it's almost like they're sheltered, like, which I don't know how. Like, I'm not here to just throw mud at people, but like, yeah, like they talk about these things, and like, and this is where, like, what we're trying to accomplish with Twin Elements around like the education side of things, because they get a perspective from someone who's, okay, like, there's 3% of the population who are hunters or associate with hunters. There's 3% of the populations who are animal activists, and, the concept of hunting disgusts them. There's the 94% in the middle that vote and determine the outcome of, are we going to hunt or not? And that's where, like, the importance of things that came up on the news, like the poaching stuff and blah, 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 massively inhibits and handicaps our perspective of what the majority of the population thinks of hunting.
It's biasedly negative.
Yeah,
I don't know if biased is a word.
But you can directly link someone's, like, what they think of hunting purely off their association and how close they are. Like, talking about your daughter's upbringing and stuff like that. Like, even though she may not hunt, she will be very accepting of hunting.
Yeah.
Because of you.
And that's
right?
the point, yeah.
And so that's where, as hunters, we need to almost educate, and we're our worst advocates. And I say it all the time, because, the rifle dudes hate the hound hunters, and the hound hunters hate the gay bow hunters, and the bloody, I shouldn't say that, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone hates everyone, right? And then you get, like, all these minority groups of hunting that are fighting. We're too busy fighting each other that we don't even acknowledge that our enemy, who really aren't our enemy, because I would argue that I love the animals that I hunt way more than all of them.
I agree.
Like, I would say that I'm way more passionate and know way more about the animals that I hunt than what they will ever know. Because I have spent, like, how many of them go up into the mountains and actually go and, like, they like the concept of what an environment should look like. But I like the environment as much as they do, but I also understand that for an environment to be managed properly on a sustainable level, humans need to now be a part of that ecosystem of management, right? And hunting, as is shown in Africa, is a very good tool for doing that, because if we just leave ecosystems, like, we have too much of a hand on, and, like, burning in the high country or burning in national parks and stuff is a very good, like, there will be some, rare frog, lizard, bird, whatever, and they're like, no, we're not going to do burning. There's, like, too much of a risk. But then the problem is, like, it will just burn anyway. Like, eventually the fuels will build up, and instead of it being like a cold burn and, like, very managed and stuff, like what the indigenous communities did for thousands of years, it will just start in
A lightning strike.
a lightning strike in April after like a super dry summer, and it'll be like 30 knot winds, and all of a sudden like whatever 400,000 hectares or whatever burnt, rather than it being like, oh cool, we're going to do control burning. And that's just what I mean, like in terms of all aspects of the environment, like we need to manage it with science and not with emotion, and we need to be like very conscious of what's in the best interest of the actual animals and the population. And sometimes that sadly means some of them have to die, even just from a nutritional point for that animal. Because, if a population can only sustain 10 kangaroos, well, we can't have 20, even though they're furry and cute and we love them very much. Because all of a sudden the other excess 10 are starving, dying of dehydration, dying of food. They go looking for feed elsewhere, get into,
it's the Eastern grey kangaroo situation,
smoked by cars. So, yeah, we just need to be, I don't know, and that's where, like, I don't know, hunting is a very useful tool, but we also, as we've talked about, don't really just portray what our ethics and what our codes of standards are in a very good light to try and help ourselves. Yeah, but we don't have, we give them, it's like, we light a bonfire accidentally, burn half a town, like, oh, we're so sorry about it. And they're not going to share the happy good story where we, did all this stuff. They're going to share the one where we burnt down half a village. Like, and that's just life. That's just, but it's just, so we've got to be on guard all the time, so much more, because like, like we're in the spotlight and critiqued constantly. And that's, like I said, that's where it was like super disappointing for me with these poachers, like coming back to the rut stuff, where, we had other people and you're like looking at the posts and, they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there is no justifiable reason to poach. Like none. So anyway, so that's, so the rut was pretty hard in that sense. And then it was a bit, so to compound that, like I've only shot a couple of red stags in my life, even though I've like 2 were in Brisbane Valley, and like just, I don't know, management stags, I guess. I shot a pretty good one in the Hunter a couple of years ago, and since then had really just been looking for that like next like big stag or like mature stag. And anyway, like the second day of the hunt, we found a really nice stag, but it was like a 5x5, like really end up going 42 inches long. So I know like big stag, big mature heavy stag, good to everything about him. You're like, yep, old deer. Interestingly enough, watched someone shoot that stag on like the third day of our hunt. And that was like, we'd seen a few stags at this point. He was like well and truly the oldest by like a couple of years. And so it was great. Like it was very mixed emotions, because you're like, it was actually a son, like a kid that shot it. So you're like, man, if that was my kid, you'd be stoked. You'd be over the moon. Like, but it's also hard from your perspective, because you've like put in all this time, done all this scouting, property access, blah, blah, blah. Found this deer that from a population point of view, he was a 5x5. So want to take him out anyway, because he didn't have very good genetics. Secondly, like past his prime, which is annoying that he's even, because I've only just got access to this place. So it's like, it's annoying he even got that age, because it would have been great if he was dead like 4 years ago. So yeah, like all these factors, and then to watch him go, you're like, oh shit. Anyway, so then we spent, then like I think it was the day after or 2 days later, then we had the poaching incident, which then just compounded like everything. And then it was just like, it just felt like every turn we were just getting like knocked back down. And like, it was just like hard when you're trying to like find that one animal that we obviously end up finding. And like all these different problems that I'd never, I'd never faced, like watching someone else shoot my target deer, and I'd never faced like bumping into poachers when you're like running, when you're hunting on a place, like all these different new problems. Like it's not like, like you haven't found the animal, hunt harder, go further, blah, blah, blah. It was like, you found the animal and you watch someone else shoot it. Like, so yeah, I don't know. It was just like, it was almost like the emotional side of the hunt was very different this time. And it was honestly like exhausting. Like it sort of took a different spin out of like the fun of hunting for me. um, because it was all like it just felt impossible. And so I was like, if it's impossible, like why even do it? Like if you just can't. And so yeah, once we'd done like all the poaching stuff, and then it's sort of like we found the stag that ended up shooting, and he was actually on the neighbor's place when we first saw him. And so even in that, like you're sitting in the back of your mind going like, is he going to, am I going to get a photo from a mate who sends me, like that he's been shot or whatever? And like we knew as soon as I saw him, I was like, yeah, that's the one. Like as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's the stag that we're going for this trip. And so yeah, and then he was like right on the boundary fence. The next morning, we had a stalk on him, and the property owner actually like drove past and scared like 20. Like we'd done this massive loop. Like we saw him, done this massive loop to get the wind right, and we're coming in like above him, and we're probably like probably 300 meters above him. We can like I can see him like down below us, and he's in like an awesome spot. There's like him and I think like four, like two hinds and two yearlings sort of thing. And they're in like a semi-open area too, which is what I like. Like you've got enough cover to stalk, but you can see them and stuff. Like it was just thermals coming up. Like it's great. And then like everything you want. Like it was just perfect. Like I was like, oh, and like he'd left his girls on the neighbor's place to come to our side. Like jumped the fence, walked across by himself, and I was just like, there is a God. You know what I mean? Like I'm like this, like it. So lucky. Like he'd left like 15 hinds to come to check out these other hinds, and then like obviously one of them must have been cycling. Like it was just like the perfect like. And then classic, it was like, oh, here's everything, and then in the same moment, just like nah, just like pull it, take it away, and then yeah, we just spent like a couple of days trying to find him, and just like could not find him, and it was I think maybe 3 days before we went to go down and hunt like hog deer, and the wind was just like terrible. Like it'd been like we'd seen a heap of stags, couldn't find him. The wind was just like arse, like it was blowing the opposite direction to the main prevailing wind. We could only sort of hunt this area from a certain way. Like everything was just like not working out. And it was like the afternoon, and I just said to Aiden, look, I think he's going to be here. I said, let's go and do this massive loop. Like it was going to be like a 6K loop to go and get the wind right for there on last light. And like it was pretty gnarly country. And he's like, yep, righto. So we've walked like 2Ks to get to where of the 6K loop to get to where I want to be. And this stag at like, whatever, 3 o'clock in the afternoon roars. And Aiden's like, oh, you're going to go like check it out. And I was like, nah, like I think you'll be here. And he's like, come on, like he's just like here. And like the wind was shit for it. And so yeah, we like start moving in, and like because the wind is like blowing the wrong way and stuff, and you've got like prevailing wind going against the thermals. Sorry, prevailing wind currently going against. Sorry, the wind currently going against the prevailing wind that it normally blows. So like opposite direction is like essentially doing just this like whirlwind effect where it would blow 10 direction. Like it mainly comes from the east. It was blowing from the west. It was coming like 10 knots from the west, but you'd get these like easterlies just coming up through. And then the thermals on top of that, which was blowing like the opposite direction of both. So it was blowing like 3 directions. Like it was just shit. And I was like moving in. And I get to like 150 meters off these deer that I can hear roaring. And I like put the binos up. And I just remember like seeing this hind's back, and then just seeing this like stag's back like above it, and I couldn't even see him, and already I'm just like, this is like a proper big stag. Like I'm like, I don't know if this is the stag, but I'm like, this is a stag. Like, and then I saw a glimpse of him in like the tea tree, and I just like looked at Aiden, and I was just like, we're on. Like this is.
You knew it was him?
No,
at that point?
I knew. I didn't know 100% with him, but I'm like, it's like
It's a
his
shooter.
level. Like he's like, I'm like, it's definitely a shooter. Like there's. Yeah, he's in the caliber of what I'm like, he's super mature. Like he's in the caliber of what I'm looking for. And so yeah, funnily enough, we then took like 2 steps, and there was hinds bedded off to the left in like the thick as hell stuff, and they actually like we thought they winded us. They didn't wind us. They saw us, because to answer the thing, they like ran 50 meters and were like looking back and then just like ran. I was like, shit, they winded us because like the wind was just shit, but I think they just saw us. And then those hinds, there was like only two, like a hind and a yearling. That hind made the hind that was with the stag just like super anxious. And so they dropped off the edge where I couldn't see. And I was like, okay, I'm like, the thermals are still sucking up. I'm just going to run up this ridge and try and get the wind right. And like talking about what we'd done with like, you know, practicing and stuff. Like we'd called in heaps of deer in the last couple of days against the prevailing wind direction and stuff, just by being above them and having the thermals right. And so I'm just like, it was like that tried, tested, you know, like what we're talking about with the chittle stalk. Like, I'm like, let's just get above them and like pray that this is going to work. Right. So we got in above this stag and I'm like, I'm not going to move until he starts roaring again, because he'd had two smaller stags on his ass and that's why he was roaring, like saying piss off. I'm like, those stags will eventually find, or a stag will find that hot hind and him, and he'll start going, because they just went down there. And I've seen it before. I actually had an encounter with Nick Morton where there was a hot hind and a stag. We got in on him and then we lost him in this thick stuff, and we got above him and we were roaring, and there's another stag roaring below us and we thought it was the stag that we were chasing with the hind. And then we end up roaring in this young, like 3x3 or something, or whatever, 4x4. And then so he got into like 10 yards, pissed off. And we're like sitting there, like, they got to be here, like with the tiny little gully. Like, and then I actually climbed a tree, and here's this stag and hind. And like, I'll never forget it. This hind and stag are like looking at me because I'm climbing the tree, and they're just like sitting there, like, you know, just like, like, and they're like 70 or 80 yards, like meters away or whatever, yards, like just over the lip, like around the hill. She's not moving. He's not moving. He's not making a noise. He's just like sitting there, like, if I don't move. The stag.
Shit.
This is Nick Morton's story, but like they were just like pinned down and like did not want to move anything. Because I don't think the hinds, like, think about it. Like, if you can have one sweet baby daddy like marginally bash you and push you around, or you can have, because he's going to get so much more aggressive and physical if there's stags there as well, because he's trying to push the hinds to a safe spot. So like, and this is like, I don't know, this is just from, there's people that would probably say otherwise, but like, I don't know, like if you've got spikers and stuff that are harassing, trying to steal a hind, or you can just stay with the stag and be pretty quiet and like recluse and just sort of sit there. I think they'd probably rather do that than like because as soon as they get busted, well, the stag's going to chase them, the stag's going to chase the hinds and try and push them somewhere safe. You know, he might hit her, blah, 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 like all these, like, yeah. So, but yeah, I've seen it a couple of times now, but yeah, that she was just like pinned down. So was the stag in this thick stuff, just like sitting there. They obviously saw me climb the tree and ran off. And I was like, okay, I'll just sit up here, not be getting winded. And it was pretty cool. Like, there was a couple other hinds and smaller stags then started moving around and stuff. And the stag and hind started up. Well, the stag started up roaring, and he sounded like a lion. Like he just had that like deep, like
a grumble.
Like it was almost like a bellow rather than like the
yeah.
Like, and anyway, so I'm like, cool, we'll just start like dropping down on these guys. And like, I don't know, we're dropping down and I can see this stag like lapping, like just running back and forth, because he had like a couple of hinds here and a couple of hinds there, and like a spiker was coming in and harassing, you know, the hinds on the right. So he'd go and chase them, and then he'd go and and then a stag would come in from the left and harass the hind. There was only two, like a hind and a yearling, like two groups of them, so four. And yes, he was just doing laps, roaring and stuff, and we're sitting above hind calling, like, hey, we're here if you want to, you know, come check us out. And like he'd roar and stuff, but he had like the visual cues, and he's like, look, I'm just a bit distracted right now. And that's where like being patient, I guess. Like, so I did two things on that stalk. So I went to drop down, and the wind was, I was checking the wind, and the wind was dropping down. Like I was just watching it. I'm like, we should be getting busted right now. Like there is no reason why I should not be getting winded. You know what I mean? Like, and we started dropping down, and it'd go down, so we'd move back up, and we're sitting there going like, shit, he's going to have to come to us. And then I was just like, nah, we just got to back this wind in and like just go for it, right? And just like it's worked for us the last couple of days. Like we just got to, you know, and that's where that like trial and error So we start dropping down the hill, and I'm like, I'm going to position myself between the two groups of hinds where he's charging through, and I'm like, if I can stop him. Anyway, so we're just hind calling because it's so loud and crunchy and dry. Like it's, we've had a drought down there, and it's, yeah, super dry. And so they can hear us. Like they know we're coming through the thick shit. But if we're hind calling, then hopefully they're like, oh, that's, Beth and sweet Louisa. And yeah, it's also just working off like what they liked, because I was hind calling and he wouldn't respond to me. So I'd like, yeah. And then he'd do nothing, and then Aiden would hind call, and he would roar back at Aiden. So I just said to Aiden, like,
Aiden's a bit more feminine.
well, I think Aiden's is a bit higher pitch. Like it probably sounds a bit more like a fawn call maybe. Whereas mine's probably like, Karen, bit stale, a bit, like, oh shit, she's back here again. You know what I mean? Like,
fucker, yeah.
Oh fuck, I thought I got rid of that one. Like, whereas Aiden's like the sweet little like, oh yeah, big daddy, come over here. Like, I'll look after you. So his was working, and Aiden was obviously filming, and that's where like I just looked at Aiden. I'm like, righto, you're hind calling. I'm done. And that's like an important part of that calling, like seeing what's working. You know what I mean? Like you feed off, like, is it a roar? Is it a hind call? Is it a raking of bush? Like what's going to work in this scenario? And there's no hard and fast. And that's where, like you try and teach calling, but really you just got to do it. And then you realize that there's no rules. There's fundamental structure, but it's like what makes sense in the moment can be completely against everything that you ever got taught or told. And there's no way of knowing how they're going to react or do it. And like 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work. But that one time, it's just beautiful.
Yep.
And that was this time. So we're moving down the hill, and I said to Aiden, we're going to park ourselves up here. And he's been coming through this like little gully. I said, like, because it's super thick too. And I said, I can get a perfect shot here. It's going to be like 30, I think it was like 37 meters or something like that. So I said, as soon as he comes through, there's a big enough gap, I can stop him, broadside, bus, be it full draw, done. He'd been running through there for like 10 or 15 minutes at this stage. And so I was like pretty confident that he was going to come through there. Like every minute or two he'd been dropping through. And the hind on the right, I don't know if they might have seen us, I don't know. But they'd gone or dropped further down the hill, like a stag or a spiker. The stag or spiker that was busting them up could have taken them a little bit. And then I know for sure that the stag up on the top left side had actually come through. When he was on the right side, the last time he went right, the stag had actually come on the left, had come through and got the hind and left the yearling there. So he's now come back, and then he's just like, where's my girl? So then I'm like, and so he just sat there. So where he'd been going through every minute or so, he just sat in that one spot and just started like roaring in this like really thick bit, and you could barely see him at like 100 meters, right? And I'm like, so then we're roaring. Sorry, didn't roar. Then we're hind calling. Aiden's hind calling, and he's roaring back to us, and he starts moving towards us for the first time. So rather than going from left to right, he's coming like actually towards us. And I'm like, holy shit! And so he starts walking towards us, and that's where like I'd ranged everything. And yeah, it ended up being that like he came in, and just as he got to like 50 meters, the camera battery died. Right. And so, but just because Aiden was Aiden's calling and filming at the same time. And so he quickly pulls it out, and I'm like, I look at Aiden and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is not.
Oh, like moving around and shit.
Oh, no, don't care about that. Oh. Like, we had heaps of cover. Like, I could have done a cartwheel and got back to the tree. Like, it was so thick. Like, I get every 5 to 8 seconds, I got like a 1 second clear picture of him, and then it was just like his antlers above the tree, or like his ass, or like there was so much cover. Like, that wasn't the problem. Like, my shooting lane was as wide as the door that I'm looking at. Like, it was, to like 20 meters. Like, it wasn't that. It was more just surely you would have seen this prior. But then now in hindsight, it's like, okay, well, yeah, if you're like invested in calling and trying to film everything, as you know, like you're trying to cover all aspects of the hunt, like the deer coming in, what I'm doing, blah, 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 like all in this live fluid thing, changing between cameras and stuff. Anyway, so he quickly smashes a new battery and turns it on. And I think so what he thinks he did was turn it on, press record, but turned it on, press record too quickly. So it didn't actually record. Right? And so what happened is the deer does another roar, like so beautiful, lives free in my mind every day, not on my film, not on the camera. But so this stag comes in, walks through, and just as he's like he's walking into my window of where I can shoot. And like I said, we're only talking about like a 3 foot wide shooting lane out to 20. That's all I had. And the wind was cutting up the hill, and he's coming from like downhill, slightly uphill. Like he's right on the edge of my wind line. Anyway, draw back when he goes behind a bush at like 25. He's coming quartering on. And just as he's like about to leave, well, like I hind called, and then he still took, I think just because it was so windy, he took 2 or 3 steps. And so when he actually stopped, he was quartering on, but his head, antlers, and like the front of him slightly was covered by brush on the edge of my shooting angle. And he's at 22 meters. And so all I did was I put it as low and forward as what I could. Right?
Explain. Elaborate, please.
So he's standing with his bum, as I'm looking at him, his head's on the left-hand side and his bum's on the right. And so he's quartering onto me. His front end is slightly covered, and his head and everything's covered by brush, like his neck and everything. And so I couldn't see exactly, because there's all brush and stuff in the way, and in the moment I couldn't see exactly where, like how far he'd stopped forward. So I just aimed low on him and as far forward as I could, trying to get it like
in front of the shoulder.
Well, sort of in front of the shoulder or in line with the shoulder, because I didn't know how much I was losing
in front of
what I couldn't see. You know what I mean? I probably could, but in the moment. But anyway, yeah, in the moment, and then so shot, and then because I use like a pilot cut, like these things make just like huge holes, and so when I saw him run, I saw like a 4-inch cut, like it was huge because of the angle, and I thought it was behind the front leg down low, which would imply that it was like maybe a little bit of lung, mainly liver and guts.
And missed the back
and
lung
missed
too.
Like barely got one lung, liver and guts, is what I saw in my head. Aiden, so his perspective, he slammed the camera battery in, turned it on, pressed record, thought he was recording, kept hind calling. The stag comes walking in. Aiden's looking through the viewfinder this whole time, right? I shoot the deer. Aiden watches me shoot the deer. Aiden goes, "Oh, you've smoked him." Like, shot the heart out of this thing. Absolutely destroyed it. So then the deer runs off, runs up the hill, see him stop at about 40 meters up the hill, and then just hear him run, but he's in such thick stuff, hear him run for, 3 or 4 steps and then crash. And so in my mind, in Aiden's mind, he's dead. In my mind, he ran, got his composure, and then like goes, "Oh no, this isn't right," and then has like gone to sprint off through the thick stuff, and then like run through a bit of thick stuff which made a loud noise, and then he's like, I know it's like, because there's bits that are like semi-open, semi-not.
It's disappeared.
So he's like hit a semi-open pocket and not making any noise, and he's just going for it, right?
So you're crying on side, and Aiden's ecstatic.
Well, so we're both like, and this is what I mean, like it'll be interesting to see and hear people's perspectives when the video comes out. Because so then I said to Aiden, I'm like, I need to see this footage. And Aiden's like, "You smoked him." So then Aiden goes to get the footage up, and then he looks at me like white as a ghost and goes, "I can't find the fucking footage." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, and then I'm like, and then in my mind, because
for the record, everybody, the conversation would have not been that subtle.
No,
was it really?
It was pretty subtle, because I'm stressing. Like, I'm 10 out of 10. I'm 10 out of 10. Like, I literally said to Aiden, I'm like, in my mind, when I saw him put the battery in, I already, in my mind, had realized, I'm like, he's not, for some reason, I'm like, he's not going to get this on footage. Like, from that moment, we didn't have it on footage.
Mm-hmm.
So if he got it on footage, it would have been like, "You're a legend." But I hadn't lost anything because I'd already lost it. So when he goes, "I don't have the footage," I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'd sort of already I'd gotten over it while the red stag was still alive and in front of me, so I didn't care about anything else. You know what I mean? Like it was just part of like, I'm like, "Yep, cool, whatever." And like it was so funny because I'd seen on other people's channels and blah blah blah. Like I'd thought Like, I literally thought before this rut, I'm like, holy shit, we are doing good as a media filming team, not missing shots ever. Like, because obviously the shot is like a pretty big component of like the hunt, right? And I'm like, we have never missed a shot. Like, sure, it might be like, oh, honestly, sometimes like 90% of the time it's in like pretty crisp, like crisp focus and everything. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like we've never had like, it's been brilliant. Like, we've done a good job in that sense. And so then like this hunt, obviously, like it didn't work out. But so I turned to Aiden and just go, look, mate, if you haven't got it, there's no way you're going to fucking get it now. Like, I literally don't care. Like I said, it's gone. You can't bring it back. Let's just worry about this deer, because we also only had like probably an hour of light left too. So I'm realistic where it's like, I don't want to be blood trailing. Like, if I'm blood trailing in the dark, the chance is that we're going to bump it if it's alive. And then, but Aiden was from the start always very confident. Aiden's like, nah, and he quietly was, but he also was like Aiden's not a very, if it was me, I probably would like, mate, that deer's dead. Whereas Aiden, like, obviously different personalities, like, no, like, you did a good shot, but like, also probably me being stubborn. He's like, I can tell this bloke 50 times and he's probably not going to listen to me anyway. He's got to discover it for himself.
The reason I'm laughing is that it's just so relevant.
Yeah.
And
but so anyway, so then I'm like, I don't care about the footage. It's gone. We can't get it back. I'm going to go and blood trail it. So we start blood trailing it, and the blood trailing was it was a fucking shit show in itself, because so arrow, like, and this is what I mean about like the pilot cuts or whatever, like arrow. So you think about fully red, like, you know, massive red stag, fully zipped through this thing, like quartering on, and like the arrow disappeared, like gone. Couldn't find the arrow. It took me like 20 minutes after I shot it to go back and find it, because it was like 30 yards past where I'd shot this deer. And anyway, so following the blood, and I'm like, Aiden, firstly, he was being really loud, which pissed me off, because he was being very casual about it, and I'm full arrow on, stalking, like anticipating that this thing may be alive, and he's just like, oh yeah, looking around, like, you know, like, cause he like,
oh, I wish I was there for
and
this,
I'm just
man.
like looking at him like, shut up, like, shh, like, and I'm like, just stop, like, I'm like, be 10 meters, I'm like, you go 10 meters back from me, like, I'm like, if you're not going to take this, like I'm 14 out of 10. This is the deer that I've looked for my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is it, right? And he's just like,
it's dead, bro.
Oh yeah, right. Anyway, so then he's like behind me and he starts being a bit more serious and stuff. And we're tracking blood, and there's, you know, awesome blood and blah blah blah. And we get to the top of the hill, and Aiden goes, whoa, stop. And I'm like looking back, and he's like, he's right there. And I'm like, so I'm looking at Aiden, and I'm looking at where he's pointing, and there's like all these trees that are like half down and stuff. And he's like, he's still breathing. And I'm like, where? And he's like, just there. And I'm like, so I'm looking at these trees and like looking at him, and like it's thick, but don't get me wrong, like, and anyway, it just must have been the angle of where he was. He was looking at these like saplings that were like half dead, and it looked like they were moving and breathing. And so he's thinking it's like the deer lying outside alive there. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, it's just like saplings or whatever. And I'm like, you know, so I've gone like straight to it. Like, I'm at a 12 out of 10.
Half draw, yeah.
Oh, literally, I'm at like a 45 out of 10 now. Like, you know. Anyway, so then we're walking, and I take another 2 steps, because it's super thick. Like, you can barely see in this stuff, right? So following blood, I take another 2 steps, and as on the sort of crashed, or not crashed, it wasn't even a trail or anything. It's just like in the direction of where the blood's leading me, like only eight steps in front, like probably 6 or 7 meters, I'm like, stop again. You know what I mean? And I see an antler sticking up, and I'm like, trying to like do math, and I'm like, where's the rest of it? You know what I mean? I'm trying to like look and get some angles, like, where's my deer? Like, I'm like, there's thick tea tree, and there's like, you know, undergrowth and stuff. And I'm like, it's hiding a full red stag pretty well. Anyway, and then I'm just like, it's a bit white. And I'm like, maybe this is a casty. So then I take another 2 steps, and I'm like, oh shit, it's just like a cast antler. So then took another, like, so then I get like take another couple of steps, get to the antler.
Have an anxiety attack.
Oh, proper. So I've gone from like 12 to 45 to like 60 now, right? And then I look, and I get to the antler and look like 10 meters in front, and then here's the deer, like dead as a post. And like, honestly, it wasn't like, even now I think about it, it's not like, whoa, you know, like fully, like, it was just like,
Oh, thank God.
oh, literally, it was just like a, oh, like it was, yeah, it was just like, I don't know. And it was like a combination. It was, and even now it's sort of hard to put words and feelings into it because it's like, okay, we're talking about like a lifetime of hunting to get a stag of a lifetime. Like, you know.
And it is a absolute monster. Jump on James's Instagram and have a look. It is a monster, man.
Yeah. Oh, like it's, and that's the thing. Like you're talking about like a lifetime of dedication and passion to try and, you know, manage populations so that
Those stags
like
exist.
those stags exist, let alone even then just like trying to put the time in to find them, and then be able to actually successfully get one with a bow. Like, so there's that. But then it was also just everything that we'd gone through that rut with, you know, finding the other stag, watching it get shot. Okay, cool. Spend a heap of time. Okay, well, you're just finding young deer. Oh, shit. Bump into some poachers. Like, deal with all that stuff. All of a sudden, you're like scared to hunt properly. The amount of time that you can even hunt is decreased. Oh, cool. We got this awesome, like, found another really good stag. That's cool. Oh, shit. It's over the boundary fence where we've seen other deer get shot. Is it going to get shot? You know, like, oh, cool, perfect stalk, watch it run away, the wind shit, can't find him, blah, blah, blah. And then to like actually have it all just like work out, it was just like, oh.
I felt the same with mine. Like that, this resonates with me because I spent 16 days total. I worked out hunting, pretty much straight. I was over there filming a project. Nick, the guy I was with, who's filming, shot his stag on day 2. He gave me the rest of his days to hunt and went hunting with me. We didn't shoot an animal. He had to go home. Mel came over. Tried to spend another 3 days on the stag that I found the day before. She turned up, couldn't find him, and it was just like a punish. And I found like 50 stags and nothing that was like worthy of pursuit, really. Had a couple of stalks on one that I'm glad I didn't end up shooting because someone else shot it. And I was like, oh, actually, it was not what I thought it was in regards to quality and weight and shape and everything.
What you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the same thing happened. Like, it was like, I think the second last, I think we had half a day the next day and then we were driving out. And I shot it that afternoon
Nice.
before, which was crazy. And the same feeling was like, it was like a massive amount of effort I didn't go through that much of a punish, but like, in regards to on the stalk itself and stuff. But when I shot the animal and like seen it drop, I was like, oh, I wasn't like jumping up and down or anything. I was like
squealing.
Yeah.
Do you feel guilty? I don't know, like I reflect and I almost feel guilty. Like, and for like, but I guess it's what your perspective and perception of like what that animal, like I see that animal as like, like a point in my hunting career of like a lifetime of dedication and passion for, you know, honing my craft as a hunter, but also managing herds for, you know, genetic potential and like managing the herd for numbers and working with farmers and, you know, because like at the moment we're shooting the shit out of the hinds to try and keep the numbers in check and stuff because they're in drought. So it's like, it's all like, it's a summation of, you know, thousands of hours, years of dedication into one moment. But then, I just almost feel guilty for that. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like,
guilty for what?
For not being like
ecstatic about it.
Yeah, or not in a way.
Like, as in, not showing.
Yeah, like not showing more
excitement
about it, like in the moment and even afterwards. Like it's like,
I feel like it's a closing of a book, is how I feel about it. Like the feeling you get. I understand totally what you're saying, and I was.
Well, that's what I'm asking because I hadn't really like Like I wonder Aiden maybe if he felt that with like Pegasus, the big chital that he spent
Yeah.
like, whatever 6 months trying to shoot and like he shot chital sits, but like that was like the one, you know what I mean? Like where you just give yourself over. And so I don't like, but it's interesting, like just hearing your red stalk and then you're like, oh, I felt, and it's like, oh, like,
It felt like the weight of the world off my shoulders. And like, I would have been happy if I didn't get the shot opportunity. I would have been equally as comfortable letting that deer walk or something, or walking out or whatever. Or I got in there and it wasn't actually as big as what I thought or anything and didn't shoot it. Would have been also totally fine. I get 100% what you're saying. I'm not that kind of person. I think the more you do it in hunting and like hunting in general, I haven't been bow hunting for that long, but hunting in general, I feel like you get accustomed to it. And for me, it's like the closing of the book. And when the book closes and you're sitting there with that stag, you're reflecting on the moment itself, but also me sitting downstairs shooting from the back fence into my office at a target every day for like 2 months before. And all of the stuff that I've learned from you guys, hunting chital by myself and like failing miserably for many, many, many trips because I didn't have anyone to help when Aiden was away and all that sort of stuff, and just figuring shit out and spending all that time and like reflecting on my time with Mel and the friends and all the journey and this time with Nick and this fact that him and I walked every ridge in the whole place over 5 days to try and find shootable stags. And you reflect on, it's like the white light when you die, that, and everyone reckons that it's like you go through this process of reliving your life.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I feel like. And when you sit there and you reflect about it, it's not just about the animal dying. It's about because that is just ecstatic and excitement, but everything else is like super humbling and like.
Well, that's what it was. There was no like, like you described like the weight, and it's all like internal pressures. Like it's not like. The
sky's not going to cave in if you don't shoot a deer.
Like if I don't shoot anything, life continues the next day. Like if someone shoots it, that's fine. Like in terms of our filming, like our films aren't all about the kill. Like it's about the whole process of what hunting is for us. So it's like we make plenty of films where we don't shoot it, like don't shoot anything. Like, so it's got nothing to do with the pressure of like doing that. Social media, I rarely ever post on social media nowadays. You know what I mean? Like I've shot more stuff this year that have never made my Instagram than have made my Instagram. Like, and good stuff that I'm proud of, but it's just like, so it's, I don't know, it's just very, weird that, I don't know, it's just like, it was a different experience because normally, like everything else I'd say before that, and that's where I don't know if like this rut with like the poaching,
it probably was, man.
Like, I don't know if it was just like emotionally exhausted.
I feel like it probably would have been like, because you went through all of you went through the ringer with the poaching shit, and then you had the added pressure of having to leave in a couple of days. You hadn't had a good opportunity, and you're going down to hunt hog deer, and then all of the poaching stuff, and then the fact that you thought you killed it. I feel like that's probably 90% of it, is the fact that you thought you gut shot a massive stag, and then you're like, oh, I didn't gut shoot it.
And that's probably doing it right, but like the stress of that too.
I think as long as it means what it should mean to you, and it's an opportunity for you to close the book on a story that lasted months up to that point, and you to acknowledge and be appreciative of all those moments leading up to that moment, I feel like that is the purpose of why we do what we do.
Well, it's like interesting because then, like now, like I've already said, because Aiden didn't really get a chance to hunt this year, and like he made a comment the other day about it. He's like, "Oh, I would have loved to have hunted." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's fine. You get all of next, right?" You know what I mean? Like for me, unless I like, and because I'm very blessed that I'm not like stupid far. Like Aiden's obviously in Townsville compared to me. Like I'm not that far away from where the Reds are, so it's like I can still whip out and go and see them and take photos of them and stuff. And like it would take another deer that was like very special on that caliber to like make me want to go and like shoot. And that's where like I'm pretty like, like obviously Aiden wants to get one, Dad wants to get one. Dad has some really good chances, but like, and there's other people that I've like done hunt swaps with and stuff that want to have a crack at them and stuff. So it's like, I'm like keen to, I mean, and that's what you learn from guiding, like, and obviously being a bit selective on who you take and stuff. But that's where it's like, you're pretty blessed when you can, like, with the guiding side, when you take someone else in there, do 90% of the stalk and then just let them shoot it. Like in a lot of ways, you feel like you've
I'm
done
stoked.
it and been a part of it and all the rest of
I get to be guided on the shit. I don't have to pay shit.
it. You pay in other ways.
I get all the sauce.
But yeah, like I don't know, like it's rewarding in that sense, but it's also just picking who you take out and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you shoot one big red stag and you get a lot of friends, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just come on a hunt." It's like
They love that, man. People love that. People love riding off the coattails of everybody else's success.
It's not even. Yeah, and it's even like I don't know. Interestingly enough, I've had a fair few people reach out and be like, honestly, mate, if I'd shot that stag, like, and really renowned hunters, they're like, if I'd shot that stag, there's no way I would have posted a photo of that on social media. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you'll get dickheads that go and poach there, and you'll get people rocking up offering stupid money to go and hunt there. And I'm like, look, I'm fine with the stupid money part because like I feel pretty confidently like in on these places, and I mean it might be like a overconfidence on my behalf, you know what I mean, where old mate tomorrow tells me that I've lost access, but the point is like it's the poaching part that concerns me, but it's also now that those three guys have been caught, like the amount of effort that the farmers have gone into even in themselves, like buying literally like thermal drones,
stuff,
you know, like
good
40 cameras. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and now, and then also like for us knowing what we can and can't do and the you know, the prosecution process and everything like that. Like, so yeah, knowledge is power. And like, I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's also like, yeah, we're pretty gunned against like stopping it and stuff and just doing the right thing. And hopefully as hunters, we're all, leaning towards that side of the page rather than justifying dog acts like poaching. But
well, that's the purpose of these kinds of conversations, man. And it's the purpose of what your business model is. Educating people, even if you aren't a hunter or you don't particularly understand hunting or like hunting, it at least provides you some perspective on what it should be and what most people that you don't hear from are doing in the industry. That the majority of us are good people that try and do it the right way, that try and take all the meat we can, that are ethical, that are sustainable, that have conservation in mind, that appreciate the places that we're doing it in, the wildlife,
respect for farmers, animal welfare, like all of it. Like it's, but then there's those that don't. And so it's just trying to, as hunters, we need to highlight that that's not an acceptable attitude or behavior to have. And everyone's entitled to theirs. But like, if you have that opinion, hunting, like if you have that certain opinion of entitlement about poaching and, you know, you can go wherever and shoot whatever and do whatever you want, then hunting will quickly become illegal in Australia, and then you won't be able to do it at all.
Yeah.
So it's like I know that everyone's like entitled to their own opinions, but on some opinions, it's like that's just not the right way to go.
I 100% agree, and I've like my one piece of advice, and we'll close on this because I've got literally 15 minutes to get to dinner. I got a dinner meeting tonight. Is for the people that do hunt and that do it well and that take a lot of animals, that showcase hunting and all that sort of stuff. I feel like you should make, the kill shot's awesome and all the fun stuff and the trophy shots are great. And you guys do this really well. But there's not a lot of others that are really pushing it. And there's some amazing hunters out there that are really strong on social media and that do have the ability to have a voice. Is share more than just the kill shot and the trophy, and explain to people that it's not just about that, and that there's a whole massive proportion, and it's literally said in Clarity, that film I did with Aiden years ago. It was like the death of the animal is less than 1% of the total time spent. Right, show people stuff, teach people stuff about the environment, about your bow, about learning, tell the story about the deer. And I understand that you don't have fucking camera crews and all that sort of stuff, but make an effort to add more value than just a kill shot, because the kill shot's going to get, and the trophy shots are going to get appreciation from people who already hunt, which is fine, and that helps you grow and all that sort of stuff in your niche and in your industry and in your demographic that you're already in. But I feel like a lot of hunters don't portray hunting with enough width to bring other hunters, other potential people that might even be interested or curious or want to understand more into the fold
Yeah.
to give them the opportunity to develop their own understanding and own opinions of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a massive shortfall is, because all of the people doing the shit things are the ones that get picked up by mainstream media and all the lefties and all of that sort of stuff. And because the other people that are doing the right thing don't have a voice or make an effort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is my opinion. But thank you for your time, man. We capped it at an hour and we're 2 hours and 42 minutes in.
It's never going to happen.
No, well, we haven't done one. And I've been running this for years because you moved down south and we sort of never just lined up the opportunity. And when we did catch up, it was like in passing at some other city, some random place.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, handshake and a hug and goodbye.
It is. But no.
Yeah, well, now that Aiden's your neighbour, I'll be back up here.
Yes.
At least
Uncle
a couple
Jimmy.
of times a year.
Which will be good. Which will be good. And all the best for your hunt in the States, my friend. You got a big month coming up. Back on the stair machine.
Yeah, back on the stair machine.
Thanks for your time, man.
Pleasure.
Bye, everybody.